Hey everyone, and welcome to F4 Obsessed, a deep dive, a weekly show where we discuss F4 Thailand from a symbolic and meta perspective. I'm Ty, your host, and my co-host is Marie Claire, who I call MC. Say hi, MC.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this continued obsession of ours.
Mm-hmm. So before we get into the show, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, of course. And at any point in the show, you can obviously share your thoughts below in the comments. We love to see them. We read all of them. And also, please don't forget to share the link on social media platforms because it helps people find the show and makes the conversations even better. All right, so let's get into our comments review. So let's start with Marinelle. Tom showing up in white, ready to face Hale and get Gorya back, willing to get beaten and bloodied and stained because he knows what his sins are. It's like when Gorya's mom stains Rosalind's pure white suit, but the difference is that the son takes the stains willingly, but the mom doesn't.
Oh, I love this. This is great.
That's such a cool parallel because the it was fish sauce that the mom threw on to Rosalind.
It looked like she was all cut and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's something about like celestials getting dirty in this show symbolically that's really, really great.
Yeah.
Like Tom is willing to be in the dirt.
Yeah.
And die in the dirt.
Exactly.
And thus he ascends. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Mad R, great review as always. I also noticed that the road that Tom was driving on when he was rushing to save Gorya was the same road he had an altercation with the other driver in the first episode. I thought this was also interesting in a symbolic perspective because of samsara, the wheel of life that you've talked about. His choices may have led him to the same road, but this time he's more mature, grown, and has learned from his past actions. Exactly.
Yeah, I love that the samsara stuff is like coming back, or at least people are like, seeing it and like making connections. We saw some today, some conversation about that for the episode that dropped today. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, no, and it's the idea that like this isn't the end, especially there's some schools of thought around samsara that like you'll get there eventually. And you can transform and change your life and be redeemed in the life that you're in, not just in a future life that you might get to.
Right.
Really, really important.
Yeah, really cool stuff. All right, so Azette Casanova says, before Hale deleted the files about Tom's past, you can see that one of the files are named Black Rose, which means that the flower Black Rose is deleted. Oh my gosh, this show. So I posted this comment on Twitter because I was like, I have to share this like now. So it got I think somewhere upwards of like 400 likes or stuff. Like people were so excited to see this, and I was really happy that people were excited about it because we've been talking about this Black Rose symbolism from the beginning, and a lot of people still didn't really know about it, either because they, because it shows up so little. I think it showed up in that teaser, it obviously shows up in the intro, and it showed up and Who Am I? It shows up as his icon, and just like that split second where he tells the bullies to deal with her in the first episode. So
it's really easy actually to have missed this symbolism.
Yeah.
Which just shows like the show isn't relying on the symbolism to tell the story, obviously.
Right.
It's just another layer that they're layering it on to add like, yes, the symbolic note in this moment. You will definitely pick it up if you're paying attention to it. And you're like, yes, this symbolic note. It's so delicious. So it's here for us, at least.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we've been saying from the beginning that it's really exciting that he's the Black Rose and he's transitioning to this Red Rose. and we've been talking about like the symbolism all around that. And so it's just really cool that they threw in this thing, which is seemingly like an Easter egg, but it actually has a lot of meaning in the context if you've been following the symbol from the beginning. So I was just really happy that somebody saw it, called it out for us, because before that I had not seen it. So that was awesome.
Absolutely. So the next one is Zoa Batul, and go back to the episode 12 comments, because this commenter actually left like a very huge and awesome explanation of sort of prejudice towards surviving widows.
Yeah.
As well as, you know, like orphaned children. Like in some ways, societally, if you survive your spouse, you're kind of ostracized in so many ways. Or, you know, you're an orphan, it's like you killed your parents. Or if your child died, the parent is eternally responsible. There's a lot of like familial guilt societally given to people. But I did want to say this part of the comment. So again, huge comment, go and read it. But this part of the comment, which is, in some cases the wife is blamed for killing the husband by bringing misfortune into the house, like being a manglik or having an ill-placed star on the chart that forecasts the spouse's death. Husband's blood is usually turns on the wife and shuns her, so like the family, because in these situations she's contaminated. In a lot of Asian societies, the family is the most powerful social institution for socialization, wealth accumulation, power, caste, etc. That's maybe why Rosalind is so focused on the family name. She actively is building one to be taken seriously, not simply as new money or the upstart. And so that, and like all of the other context that I gave, is really important for me to say that this is not real. We knew this. This is fiction, right? This is fiction. But end to end, the story is not real. Rosalind is not treated like, you know, a single mom would.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. And the rest of the story relies on fairy tale psychology, not on realism.
Right. There was a lot of talk in like the fandom this week about realism with the last episode, and it's very important that we understand that this is not realism. This is fairy tale essentially, but it is teetering on the edge of surrealism, which is based in like both fact and fiction, or fact and fantasy essentially. There are things within the story that are evoking realness and real life, but that's only because it's making you feel it. It's not actually showing realistic things happening. It just makes you feel like, oh, I remember that happening to me, or I relate to this, or something like that.
And it's paralyzing. It's paralleling actual psychological experience. That's what's important. How it becomes real is because through the lens of our minds, we're seeing the stories paralleled to reality.
Exactly.
And it's not that it's real. And this is like important because in fantasy, things that are actually possible never happen.
Right.
Like things that should happen in reality never happen, because we want our fantasies to be better than reality. We want it to create a utopianness to our dreams and wishes and hope. And like this is an entire genre that I absolutely love, which is hope punk, which establishes that hope is something that should be celebrated inside of fiction, and that no matter how hard things are, as long as the story ends in hope, it gives us hope for the future to work through stuff, and it gives us motivation to face the reality regardless of how dreary or terrible it might be.
Hope punk is awesome. #hope punk.
Yes.
So Lee says, it's this is another long comment, by the way, that I just took a tiny snippet of towards the end. So they're saying about the episode, it's about coming face to face with his shadows, meaning Tom, and fully realizing the consequences of his actions. Also love that it was set in the Pupa's family's abandoned steel factory. It felt like a cool parallel between Hale and Tom, because this story started off with Pupa getting beaten down in Tom's rotten court. But now we're here with Tom and Gorya getting beaten down in what is essentially Hale's rotten court. Feels very full circle. But we do get to see a lot of Tom's growth. He started off enacting the violence and not really accepting his responsibility. Him saying that the F4 don't force anyone to bully, they just give everyone an outlet. To rejecting violence and accepting his part in creating the monster that is the red card game.
Oh, so good.
So good. And creating the monster that is Hale, right? Because that's all Tom's doing at that point. So,
and yeah, absolutely shows the shadow self of Tom with like the heightened reality of Hale's court.
Right.
And like this, you know, abandonedness to both institutions and courts. Like it's just like the show really is very satisfying all the time in every way that you look at it. And again, we talk about it all the time. We're going to be thinking about the show a lot, probably forever. But also we keep on discovering new things when we rewatch moments and rewatch episodes. We're like, hey, I didn't catch that before. We're trying our best, but it's impossible because we learn new things to think about as we watch the show more. And some things we might not even see until we see it in its completion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why we'll never stop talking about this, essentially. All right, so let's do our little Hana Yori Dango lore. The Maid plot. This is pretty essential. I mean, you know why? Because we assume everyone listening to this has watched the episode by now. But this is the Maid plot. This is the Maid arc, and it happens in every version and is essential to the storyline. It's a big, I would say it's like it's definitely one of the main plots. Like you can't really do this story without it. So one of the things we wanted to cover, you know, regarding the Maid plot, we defended it last week. We've been talking about on Twitter all week about how it is essential and like what are the fairy tale equivalents. But one of the things we wanted to talk about this week was that in every single version, there is kind of this common thread that runs through it where the female lead has nowhere else to go because she gets kicked out of her home. And she is sort of challenged because the male lead will bring her back to his house and says, okay, you're staying here with me since you have nowhere else to go. And that's when the anti-U character comes in, the old maid, the head of housekeeping at the house, and says she can't stay here unless she works here. And the male lead always pitches a fit. He always gets mad about this. He's like, she's a friend. Why can't she just stay here? And it's always the same. She says no. And of course, the female lead also stands up and says, no, I'm
not above working for my board. Yeah.
And sometimes the sister's involved with this. So sometimes like the Tia character is involved. Where she says you can stay here, and then she says no, I can't do this for free. I can't stay here for free. So I forgot that it's not always the older maid character, but she plays a role.
Sometimes Tia is just like there to like ease the transition, like she keeps the mom away, or you know, there's different things that Tia plays a role in as kind of like a fairy godmother or Demeter like character from a mythological perspective. Why is there no anime version, you may be asking yourselves right now? Well, it's because the anime started so early in the run of the manga that by the time the anime kind of announced its last season, they really were on the fiance plot.
Yeah.
And that's it. like that's where it goes to. The fiance and Damaji almost get married, and then the main lead and the female lead run off together basically in the end. So from now on, we will be getting kind of disparate versions of the truth when we talk about lore, because Hana Yori Dango didn't think they were going to get a second season, so their stuff is a little wacky from how it ends up playing out. Like they end actually on the Canada arc in the second season before they did the movie.
Oh Lord.
So like it's all over the place. 2001 had an entire like mini season between the second season and the first season, but yet it doesn't cover everything. 2009 Boys Over Flowers covers most things, but then had a really weird middle bit. That's the best I can describe it. And then 2018 Meteor Garden follows the manga the best because it had access to the whole thing. But again, they age them up, and there's some like intentional differences in how it plays out. So this is where we're at. So we're going to get some differences in the lore, but why is this all important? Why is this all important, Ty?
Why is the Maid plot important, or why is
the differences between all of these versions important for how it relates to F4 Thailand?
I mean, it's why we do the lore. It's like, it's so interesting to see the choices that they're making in this. Well, I mean, it's iterative, right? It's the iterative storytelling aspect, because you can't ignore what came before. You have to see it, understand it, accept it, and then decide what to do with it.
And although F4 Thailand is based in money, right, as reasons, it's not because she had nowhere else to stay.
Yeah. I thought that was really weird, because like once we got a leak earlier in the week that said about the vase.
Yeah, and we were like, a vase. But I mean, one of the unofficial versions, I think it's the one from India, actually has a broken vase as the reason. So it's like, was it homage to that? Is this their own thing? It's really interesting that they might even be taking in the unofficial versions as inspiration.
It's so funny too. I actually started watching the Indian version like a long time ago, and I didn't get very far. I watched maybe 2-3 episodes, and I don't even remember if it had subs at the time. I just was watching it because I was like, I know this story, but it's not official, so we don't talk about it on this particular show. And obviously, because I haven't actually seen it, so I don't really know how similar it is to the rest of the versions. But now I really want to watch it. But it's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's such a different angle and perspective of how this plays out. And it's more, I would say it's almost more playful, like the 2018 like head housekeeper and how she is compared to any of the other versions.
Yeah, I agree. And like the head housekeeper in 2018 also acts as kind of like this motherly figure eventually, but it takes a lot more time to get there, because I mean, the show is longer, so there's a lot more episodes. But at first she treats her like any other maid, and she's really hard on her. And, so we get very similar things in this version. So,
and then she sort of proves herself over time, but I don't know if that proving was necessary in this one. Like there's really proving. So
they don't. Good. Yeah, we'll talk about that. All right. So we're still, Tom is still in the same place. He's still a mature lover, even now, for crazy reasons, which we'll talk about. So that's awesome.
He didn't move, and you don't have to animate.
No, I did not have to animate. It's just
we
still
see
in the
him,
same place.
He will get angry eventually. We saw this in the trailer. So
yes, he will regress eventually, but for now, in the last episode,
nice.
it's very nice. It's very nice. All right. And I did want to highlight quickly that because this will become important for some of the stuff I'll be talking about later in regards to Gorya and where she's at. But we talked about this a couple of episodes ago. I can't remember, about where Gorya was on her journey. And I said, I was like up and down. She's not going to cross the second threshold until she goes back to her parents, her family. I think you were right, because I can admit that. I can admit that. But I will say this, because MC said, but she's going to cross the second threshold when she goes to his home, because like she's going into his home threshold, all that. I don't think it's necessarily that she's crossing the next threshold because she's going into his home. I think it's a lot more internal.
Oh, yeah.
It's like super internal, because some of the stuff that happens in this episode, and I said this on Twitter earlier, like it legitimately made me uncomfortable because I couldn't figure out what was going on and I was so confused. And then finally I kind of came to my own conclusion about it, which I'll talk about more towards the end. But where Gorya is at emotionally and like internally is that she is crossing over into that second threshold, which is representative of her about to tumble into the darkness. But right now, the darkness is scary. Mm-hmm. Like she's looking into the abyss, which is essentially her soul, like her inner self, because she admitted her feelings for Tom, but now she's scared. And she says that at the beginning of the episode, because what lies beyond that is so unfamiliar to her.
Yeah.
And so it's like the unknown. It's something she's never dealt with before. She's never been in love. And that's just representative of, love is scary and falling in love is scary, right? So
coming of age story, etc. And she's also dressed, when she's not in her maid outfit, she's always wearing green with a brown bottom because she's getting ready to bloom.
The bloom.
It's very representational in her costuming in this episode. But yeah, I agree that she's kind of still stuck on the edge of here. I don't think she's crossed it. I think she's like at the door.
Right.
And yeah, like you're totally right. You're right too. Like I do think
it's like a combination, because there has to be a crisis and a failure in order for her to fall through the threshold. But she's looking into it right now.
Yeah. And I don't know if we're going to get that for the next episode, but we'll get into that.
Oh, God.
Where I think she's going to be is, I think they're going to wait here.
All right. We'll talk about that. I have thoughts too.
We'll see. I don't know.
Oh, so interesting.
Both of us have been wrong on this show.
I love the heroine's journey, and I'm so glad this show is like using it without really knowing it clearly, but it's so good. All right, let's get into the show. Okay, so I had like one pre-show thought I really wanted to cover.
Sure.
Because I've seen a lot of stuff about Rosalind being a single mom. We talked about this a little bit with the comments. I almost brought it up then, but so there's this stuff in like fairy tales. A lot of fairy tales start with, there's a dying king and he has 3 sons, and the sons are like, Father, you're dying. Which one of us is going to become the king when you die? And so the king decides to do trials, right, for the sons. This is, again, we always talk about Stardust on the show, but
Stardust does this. Yeah.
Stardust does this.
It ended up being the hidden king, which is like,
it ends up not being
even
a
cooler.
son, it ends up being a grandson. Yeah. But the story itself, it's been, it's so prevalent. Like, there's so many of these stories, so many of these fairy tales and myths and folklore, and they always start very similarly. Like I said, there's like a king, but this particular story, a lot of people are saying, where's the dad? Where's Tom's dad? And the point of the myth starting out with the singular parent is because if that parent had a partner, then they wouldn't need to there would be no conflict. Like the conflict would not be the same, right?
Right.
The conflict of finding the heir or finding the true heir would likely not occur, because what's actually happening is that the projection of the psyche through that story is saying that there's something missing. And it's not that we can't find the heir, it's that the king doesn't have a wife. So what's missing is the feminine. In this story, and for all those fairy tales that start with a king that doesn't have a wife who's looking for the next heir, the son, the heir who gets to become the next king, has to find a wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this tale begins with there being no queen, but it always ends with there being a queen.
Yeah.
The missing feminine becomes found. And that's the projection of the psyche. So in this story, we start with Rosalind, who doesn't have a partner, doesn't have a husband. And she has her son, who she's trying to match with someone else. She's trying to like force him into a relationship to take over the kingdom. And it's like, that's so important that it's just her, right? Because what's going to happen at the end of it is that we are going to get what's missing, which is the balance. It's the balance of these two individuals. That's the projection of the psyche in this story, is that you can't just be, this singular dominating individual with tendencies towards emotional violence. And we've talked about this, mutilating your children in this patriarchal society. The key is to find balance, and these two characters provide that balance in so many ways. So I just thought that was interesting, and I wanted to propose it.
I absolutely love that.
Oh, yay. Thank you.
That's really, really great. And also, like, Rosalind in this story is trying to create her equal in Tom.
Yeah. She's always been trying to do that.
She's trying to craft him into her equal, when the truth is he has to rise and become his own equal and bring up his own equal. She can't have him be the king to her queen. Yeah. Even though she keeps on trying to make that happen. And I think I referred to it in a previous episode as reverse Oedipal or something, like, like it very weird to Rosalind. But no, that's what she keeps on trying to do. She keeps on trying to make him the king. Yeah. Without stepping aside.
Yeah, exactly. Because like her being the singular queen as opposed to the king, this is a subversion of that trope. I mean, like Tom, we talked about this before, but like, Rosalind is a masculine character, period, because of the things that she does and the way she acts and the things that she thrusts upon him. And
how she uplifts the patriarchy.
Right, exactly.
And again, bell hooks, she goes into singular mothers and how hard they are on their masculine children in a way, like mutilating them. And this isn't all single moms. It's just like more common in patriarchal culture, which we all live under. Right. So it's really, really important to realize that like the dragon that they are both facing together. Yeah. And they can only do it together is Rosalind.
Yeah, exactly. It's so epic. It's so epic. All right.
It is. So as we get into the episode, I was like, oh my gosh, they have to solve Lita. And I'm so glad our Gorya did this.
Yeah.
I know we wanted a kiss.
I wanted a kiss.
They weren't there yet, right? Like, right. She cares about all the subjects of the kingdom, of the star meteor garden.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she really does. She really cares about Lita. And she's she's like, Tom, come on, like we can't forget about her. And Tom's like, oh, you're right, I did forget about her, which was really funny because I think we all had the same kind of reaction.
Wait,
last
Lita?
week.
Yeah,
Lita?
exactly.
Oh yeah. But she tries to give him the necklace back, but he says, no, you need to keep this. And then when I deal with Lita, and he's like, I will talk to Lita, well, I'll figure this out, I got this. He's like, we'll do this again properly, like we will. And that's not his exact words, I'm paraphrasing because that's like what it means to me, where he's like, no, we're gonna do this again the right way because I'm better now, and we're gonna do things right. So,
and she's like, okay, great, gonna head home now. And he's like, wait, I thought we'd have at least a few moments. It was so hard to get you up here. What, you mean to the meteor garden up in the stars because you're hanging with the celestials? Yeah, it was hard to sneak you into the cursed kingdom. Yes.
Exactly.
And he's like, what about all the dangers? And she's like, you're the most dangerous person in this country, Mr. Tom. I loved this moment.
Me too.
So friggin' much, because yeah, I mean, that's what we're saying, is he is the most powerful, he is the most dangerous, he is the beast, king beast, and also now he's immortal because that's where he's at in his journey.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, nobody can touch you, Mr. Tom.
Yep. And she knows that now, because he didn't have to face punishment for that last thing, like in the last episode. So it's all so layered here. But she still says, no, I'm going. And because she's like, because I think he offers her to stay the night and says, I can give you,
I'll get toiletries,
clothes,
the PJs you like,
whatever you want. You'll get a ride back home in the morning. And she's like, no, that sounds like you're thinking about something dirty. I'm leaving. And she goes to leave, and of course, we get this like the most epic. This is the most like amazing. Epic minute.
He's like, I don't know, Bright does something with his face where he's like, okay, I'm gonna try to be charming and like, but like Tom, which is kind of slightly awkward, and also like try to convince you. And I'm gonna use these amazing words, but like sometimes when you're in love, you fumble them. So he says prom chan, which means virginity, right? So we're bonded by virginity. but I spoke with our good friend B Light on Twitter, who spoke with like they speak Thai as well as they have friends that speak Thai, and so they were trying to help us figure this all out. And she thinks that he was trying to say we are bonded by fate, which is prom likit.
Fate,
so,
destiny.
Fate's destiny, right? So we're bonded by destiny. We're above these things. And then he said lao lom, and it's kind of like a connotation of like we can just stay up and talk, and like I promise you I won't try to coax you into having sex, basically. Yeah, kind of what is being said there. And
I took it as like I won't bother you, I won't disturb you, but but in the context of what he was saying, it has that, like you said, like I'm not going to try anything with you.
Yeah.
But then he ends up saying foreplay.
Yeah, foreplay. And then and the more we talk, like he ends up like saying the more we talk or the more we hang out, the more likely we are to conceive. But she thinks he was trying to say pati sam pan, which is it will make our interactions and relationships stronger.
Yes. Yeah. We'll interact more. Yeah.
Which is all like super innocent and sweet. And he's just like basically like, will you stay up and talk with me all night?
Yeah.
Which I've done. And wow, that helps a lot with a relationship, and also burning desires for sex later.
Yes.
But this was such a fascinating way to bring sex into the conversation without it seeming that way.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, a lot of people were saying very similar things about how this is sort of like a Freudian slip of Tom's, like 3 times though.
He's
3
in
times.
his bedroom. Like he can't believe he's got Gorya in his bedroom, and he keeps on pointing to his bed.
He's like, we're just gonna sit here and just talk, but also like that's really just, you know, we'll have sex. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny. I also want to point out that, right, like after they do break the vase, when she tackles him on the bed, like that's her. Like she's jumps onto him, onto the bed, and then starts to pin his arms above his head.
Yes. Like, it is I mean, Lita was right to be like, wait a sec, what is going on? Right?
Like the only thing that's not happening that could be worse is if she were like actually straddling him, which she's not doing.
She has to stop hitting him.
She kicks him and then she punches him. I'm like, why are they keep doing this?
I know.
It's so much.
Let's talk about the vase.
Yeah. We have some notes on the vase. So there it is. I was like, where did I put my note? Yeah. So we were talking about this like before we started recording, Marie Claire and I, just because I think there's just so much in this episode that we just keep finding. But there is some symbology around vases and what they represent, because typically very basic symbol is that they represent feminine, you know, like femininity is typically represented in like the uterus and holding something, like holding a child to be birthed and like all of that. So
an empty vessel,
like, and that's the word that's the word I was thinking of. Yeah, the vessel thing, right?
And it evokes feminine power and actually ultimate goddess power,
right.
Like
yes,
main
but also
goddess stuff, like
like so if you see like images of like women pouring water out of vases, like that's typically evocative of women's ability to like give birth and bring life into the world. So
it's a creation symbol. And but there is other symbols associated with the vase. A broken vase is that there's imminent misfortune happening or a strict change of mood, oddly. And in this situation specifically, what I think is happening is that they're using the broken vase to show how Gorya is interrupting Rosalind's supreme feminine power in the house.
Yeah, I love this. It's really cool because also we get later when Lita shows up as well.
Yes,
that's another disruption. So this event, this whole event with Lita there, with Gorya there, with the head housekeeper Auntie Yu there, like these are all the women who control or who have the potential to control the house when the mom's not there. They're all there for this event. So
and it's key because it's a breaking of the feminine power, but also Auntie Yu brings it up later when she talks to Gorya, and Lita also brings up it in a way, in a moment.
Right. All right. So so then we get them coming in and saying, you know, Lita's like, what is she doing here? The rule is that you're not supposed to have people in here, like especially at night. Like she doesn't say that, but we know that Lita knows the rules because she was told them. But immediately Auntie Yu says that I told her that she could be here. She's gonna be Tom's personal maid and just gives her an immediate out.
And Tom tries to protect her. He's like, Gorya had nothing to do with this, even though she was beating the crap out of him and on top of him. And Lita blames Gorya right away. She's like, it's her. She's the one who breaks the rules.
Yeah.
I love that line.
Me too. So as soon as that happened, Because what did I say last week? I was like, guys, Lita's gonna become a bad guy for a hot minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is where it happens. So
Yep. Yep.
oh
And okay, so it's her. It's she who breaks the rules. Okay, so yes, because she's the one who kicked Tom. She's the one who is the one who disrupts the celestial garden. She's the one who is the exception. The rule breaker, right? She is the thing that causes the change, right? And she is the one who breaks the rules of the house.
Yeah, exactly.
Because again, I called this out last episode. I'm like, this is Gorya's rule. This rule exists that because of Gorya, that he's not allowed to have people in his room, especially at night, because of Gorya, I think. And I think that, yeah, this is her rule to break because it's now becoming her house.
Yeah, exactly. So
a scripted relationship we get around the broken pieces of the
broken vase. Yeah. So I have something fun with this because I don't know if anybody else caught this, but the way that the text is here is that it says these scripted very clearly, and then relationship is almost totally blurred out. Like it never finishes coming into focus at all before they cut to the intro. It's completely out of focus. It's very hard to read. And I think like this is an interesting theme that runs throughout the entire episode, which is about focus on this, concentrate on this. There's like this idea of like blurriness going on, like I can't see clearly, which is so funny because last week what was everybody talking about on Twitter, on the comments? Like the biggest theory going around was the darn Gorya is blind theory.
And like 2 even called everyone out that it made her laugh.
2 saw it. That's how popular it was. Yeah. Was that 2 saw it and commented on it. She was like, oh my God, I'm dying.
People asked us in our comments, and both Ty and I are like, she's not going to be blind.
Yeah, she's not going to be blind. Like there's no way. There were so many other explanations, but everyone was feeling it. And like that kind of, I know that sounds silly, but it does kind of tickle my subconscious in a way, because there is this idea in the theme of this episode that I can't see what's next. I don't understand what's going to happen, and where Gorya is on her journey.
And I feel like I should be doing something, but I can't see what it is.
Exactly. Because Gorya is now looking into her potential future, which is all darkness to her. She doesn't understand anything that's really going on. And she knows that, and she's accepting of that now in a way, but she is scared and she can't see what's ahead. And this is called out from the beginning to the middle to the end of the episode. So I'll try to like bring up the parts in which it does happen, but there is this idea of blindness, I would say emotionally, and in terms of like the trials, what's coming next, because that's called out at the end as well. So
like if we were to graphically represent the journey, it would be like right now everything is covered in mist because she can't see the road ahead and she doesn't know which way it turns or what happens next.
There's also something, so back to the heroine's journey part of it, right, is the initiation, descent to the goddess, like all of that's coming after she crosses the threshold. There's also this the urgent yearning to reconnect with the feminine once she goes through that threshold, and all she can think about is Lita in this episode.
Yeah,
she's not worried about Tom. She talks about that. I'm not worried about Tom. I'm only worried about Lita, not because she's scared of what Lita will do, but because she wants to be there for Lita, even though Lita is essentially the bad guy in her story right now. So there is this
Gorya treasures her feminine connections.
Exactly.
All of them, even if they hurt her.
Yes, absolutely. So in this particular episode, I think that's really magnified with both Lita the maids, right? Because they're also feminine allies, and then also anti-you. So and with Hunning, because Hunning and Gorya have that kind of relationship where they're communicating even when they're not actually communicating.
But Gawin is keeping her away, which is like Gorya probably just needs to like hang out with Hunning and she would feel like so much better. But literally, like, Gawin has decided to put his chosen love on a trial.
Yeah.
and is keeping her away from her bestie.
He's now acting as a threshold guardian to
He really
Gorya.
is.
It's so crazy.
It's really interesting how these things are playing out.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
All right, so let me get the scene where Gorya and Antithesis are kind of clearing things up. What are the details of this? Like, what do I need to do? And she tells her that the vase was worth 70,000 baht, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I didn't do the conversion, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
But
did you get the Oran High School Host Club vibes from this?
It's been so long since I've seen it, but I saw multiple people call it out. I don't remember it happening, but
so like in this story, the kind of second in command, Gorya, I forget his name. It's been a while since I've seen it too, but he's like the accountant, but also he sees like how everybody kind of gravitated towards the main character in Oran High School Host Club, and he realizes that this is a way to like trap her into having relationships with this host club,
right,
that she wouldn't normally participate in. And it although like the guys could more than cover the cost of the vase,
right,
he uses it as an excuse to build a relationship.
Yeah,
that's where I saw the parallel, right? Like it's a kind of a quote unquote lie, but
yeah, I mean, it's definitely I've seen it elsewhere as well, like not just in Asian stories, but also in Western stories. Like you know, somebody comes in, they break something and they say, oh, this was worth millions of dollars, you must do this for me in order to pay it back. And it turns out that it wasn't worth anything at all.
Yeah,
they just wanted them nearby. Like that's a common trope. But yeah, everybody was talking about Oran High School Host Club, which was funny. But yeah, so she and this is that part in the story where our female lead, our heroine, accepts the challenge that she sees ahead of her, right? Because she knows that she could do this a different way. She could try to pay it off a different way or something.
She could just go upstairs and ask Tom to be like, please forgive me.
Yeah. But she sees what's happening. And I think even in the 2018 version, Shansai looks at Domingsa and she says, I don't want her to belittle me about the head housemaid. So it's definitely speaking to her ego. It's speaking to her pride. And obviously it's coming back to that theme of class difference. So she wants to say, you know, I'm not below this, even though I'm now the queen.
Yeah.
I'm not below doing some housework in order to pay back for something, you know, for a mistake that I was the cause of. So
yeah. I'm willing to work hard to earn your respect. I also think there's some subtext going on from Auntie Yu, which is I'm responsible for everything in this house, and as the representative of the madam, I've decided to hold you responsible. And to me, this is like saying, like, but what she's really saying is, Gorya, Tom cares about you significantly and you care about him. And so you need to come over to the house and pick up your Tom and take responsibility for him.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, we have a lost Tom here who's not growing anymore right now.
Yeah.
And so you need to grow and you need to take responsibility and be near him so
Mm.
you both can grow together. It's really, really a subtle way of interpreting how she's saying it, but she really does like
Mm.
she's putting something on Gorya there that is in the subtext. It's really interesting.
Yeah. It also reminds me of like in like Bly's little book on the human shadow, women that raise boys or potentially little monsters, you know, that he typically calls, you know, little boys always have the potential to become monsters because of what society puts on them and them being masculine. Therefore, they have the potential to hurt people because of the cycle of violence. And sometimes the women that raise them will project things onto a wife later in the future.
Yep.
So like when a woman gets married to her husband, the husband's mother will sort of let go of all of the stuff that she was keeping on her in her shadow and her baggage that she, you know, that she was putting there because of the stuff that maybe, you know, that happened with her and her son's relationship. She takes that and she puts that on the wife because, and this is not necessarily a good thing. This is just something that happens.
and this is where like the wicked mother-in-law,
yes, exactly,
you know, psychologically comes from.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how it manifests. And that's why a lot of people don't have good relationships with their in-laws, because the parents put things on that spouse because they're like, oh, I don't have to deal with them anymore. They're your responsibility now. So there's something to be said about anti-you and the subversion of that, which is you are going to be in charge of this. Like you need to understand how to be in charge of him, because she's coming from a place of knowing him. It's insinuated for his whole life. Like it's insinuated that she raised
a long
him.
time.
Yeah. So I just wanted to like, kind of fill in that.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, there's all of that going on there. And then like, it's almost like, oh, you're going to be mistress of all this someday.
Yeah.
You got to learn all of this.
Exactly.
Right? You got to take responsibility for the feminine power that you've just broken.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. There's that power. Oh, I love it. So anyway, so the maids,
the maids.
the maids. I love it so much that Gorya immediately tears down that wall and says like, because they say, oh, you're Master Tom's friend, like they should treat her differently. And she's like, no, like, don't treat me any differently. I work here, like order me around when you need to, like, you know, don't look at me any differently. And I just love that so much, because she doesn't just get by with being sweet and innocent and nice to them. She actually lays down, you know, very quickly, don't treat me any differently, very explicitly. So
it's genuine in a way. And like it, Madam, you saying, I expect you to commit full commitment from you is like the start of the trial. And instantly she's tested by the staff.
Yeah.
Right. So she learns their names right away.
Yep.
Right. So Tete and Jue, I think, are how you pronounce them. But again, I apologize if I said that wrong. I can hear it a million times and my brain just doesn't always work with languages. But you know, she gives them full permission to treat her as a subordinate, and coming in to a relationship in a submissive way makes you like not hostile.
Yeah, absolutely. Really good, like bringing yourself down, putting yourself on like their like kind of, it's not like their level is lower, it's just that like they see her as higher, right? Like so she's like, no, I'm here, like I'm right here with you, like don't worry, and it's just really disarming, I guess. But they immediately like take to her and
offer her papaya salad,
which she says is her favorite. So they like instantly bonding.
I'm sorry to report I cannot have papaya salad. I am allergic.
You're allergic to papaya? That's so random.
No, there's other stuff in papaya salad than just papaya.
Oh, what's papaya salad?
There's like shrimp and chilies and tomatoes and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Oh, that's the stuff you're allergic to. Yeah,
there's other stuff. There's other stuff I'm allergic to, but I cannot have papaya salad, and now I'm sad because if it's Gorya's favorite, you should try it, right?
I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try to find that as soon as possible from my local Thai place.
It's also common in Laos cooking. So yeah, there's just a different kind of mix. But what I got symbolically from this is that like this is foreshadowing to say that she's going to be fed by this experience.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like eating together is such a bond, and it's
the maids have adopted her and she's become part of the family.
Yeah,
even though she's the lowest person because she's lower than the current maids.
Yeah,
right?
a tip maid.
she is now part of the house and part of the family, because the house isn't just the owners or the people that pay the bills. The house is every resident in it, and now she is in the house.
Yeah.
Rosalind, Gorya is in the house. The call is coming from the symbolism is coming from inside of the house. No, suddenly there's tulips everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny. All right, so then we get like the montage of Gorya being a maid. I love his shirt here. His shirt. Yeah. It's like there is like a multicolor thing going on, but it's like really subtle, and it's like it reminds me of like the Four Elements almost.
Yeah.
Like he's wearing white essentially, but he's got like red and yellow and green and black, or what might be like a dark blue. I can't exactly tell, but they also look like very simple symbols of elements. So it's just, again, whenever Tom wears multiple colors, it's typically showing that he's combining, or like he feels like supported by all his friends. Like he's combining all of kind of the symbols of his friends inside of him to like get through what he needs to get through. His allies are there for him.
He's chained too.
He is chained. Yeah, he's chained.
Yeah. Because he has to hold back from what he really wants to be able to do. And we get the cute cat commercial, which Dango, and she's taking care of the true smallest resident of the household. And she loves the cat, and is like, what a cute kitty, unlike his owner.
And he says, Dango, bite her, as the king of beasts. He's like, no. It's adorable. It's so cute.
Yeah, I think that was added too, because like you don't see him talk when he says bite her.
No, I think it's because it's like a montage. It's a montage, so they overlap the audio with the video. Yeah. But that's what it is. It's sweet though, because we get to see his looking at her in that way, as opposed to them bickering, but then we get the audio of them bickering layered over it. And then we get them.
He's being gentle and kind and sweet and helpful. And we get the very domestic maid stuff, which.
Right. And they're washing his clothes. And then we get a tiny little glimpse of what we know is going to be the shirt that she kisses him in, or he's wearing when she kisses him. I was just like, how can you show us this shirt and not give us that kiss?
And she's holding his love shirt.
Oh, the one that he rescued her in.
Yeah. And so like, it's like, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Oh my God,
here.
there's even like past and future, or past, present, future kind of thing going on here too.
Yes,
that's really weird.
There's past and I have more to say when we get to the actual closet, but yes, exactly. So it's caring for your clothes. It's super domestic. We've already seen Gorya's closet several times, the zipper one, right? Closets tend to symbolize what's going on internally and whether you're hiding stuff away or it's open and organized. And if you have a clean closet, you're comfortable with who you are, right? But in this case, it's actually Gorya who is going through all of the very varied faces and clothes of Tom, symbolically representing his mood and who he is and his beastly nature, and caring for each one individually.
Yeah, I noticed that, like, so this happens a few times in this episode where, like you said, the closet thing, but it definitely is like a time aspect going on.
Yep.
Where constantly interacting with him, but not actually like it's like indirect. She's indirectly interacting with him, like you're saying, with his clothes and with his himself.
She's caring for caring for the different aspects of him.
Yeah.
Without him being in the room. And to me, this is part of her putting everything where it needs to go for herself, of the vision of him.
I love that. That's so precious. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So she's like, she's got empty hangers because she's done her current putting away of all of his clothes, right?
Yep.
And he walks out from the shower in his love robe.
His love robe. We've been talking about this moment for like so long, and then it's finally happened, and it's like a glimpse, which I should have known. This was in 2018 as well. Like, yeah, of course this is what happens.
he was opened up. He is wearing underwear. It is his colorful black and colorful underwear. He wore underwear or like shorts or something. It's probably underwear, but he was wearing the same undergarments when he was by the pool eating yogurt.
Yeah. It's like
the exact same outfit, but now he's opened up.
Oh my goodness. That's really funny. That it's the same pair of shorts.
He's fully in love.
Yeah. I love it. I was just really glad
you got a flash of his stuff.
I was like, not just like, that, like guys, we got a nipple.
We got a nipple. I love you, Ty, so much. Like, okay, so like I talked about this on Twitter. Canonically, this character sleeps naked.
Yeah.
Right? This is like a big thing. And I was like, canonically, this character sleeps naked. And people were like, oh, this Tom is not that way. And he's got air conditioning. I'm like, no, this is important. This is important for him to be naked in front of her, because that's what husbands and wives do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Exactly. This is all play husbands and wife stuff.
Yeah, like they're playing house. They're playing
house again. But like first they played house in her house, and now they're playing house in his house. And in her house, she was the quote unquote domestic breadwinner because she was always going out and always being busy, and he took care of her. And in this house, she's taking care of him. like literally. Exactly. Literally, if you just replace the word maid with wife, like, because he's like, oh, I gotta solve this problem. You should go and focus on being my wife.
Yeah. He tells her that here too. He's like, you know, you should like, don't worry about this. I got this. And she's like, I'm the maid. I'm supposed to be taking care of you. And he's like, no, like, don't worry about this. Like, just do your tasks that you need to do for Auntie you. Yeah. And things will be okay. But this is Gorya. Like, this is so wonderfully not hard for her. I really enjoy that part of it, is that she
doesn't hard work for her.
It's not hard work she doesn't feel down. She's obviously having a fun time with the maids. Mm-hmm. Like, she is enjoying herself, which is odd because the other versions don't show that at all. But and then to have kind of this moment is also great, because there's a similar moment in other versions where she does come in on him when he's still asleep and he is undressed under the covers, and he pulls her into the bed with him, and it's like he says, "Oh, I was asleep," and she's like, "Oh no, you're using that as an excuse," and all of that. So there's that moment there, but it always makes it seem like she's just so uncomfortable and she's not happy. But
that's not this one. Yeah,
that's not this one at all.
Maybe she's a little uncomfortable with the next task.
Yes, which is great. So great. But yeah,
one of the keys about the wake up moment, and we did actually talk about doing a mini lore about the wake up moment, because it does this is the comparison to that moment.
Yeah,
same with him being in bed and her feeding him. But the wake up moment is really, really key because it proves her power over him compared to the rest of the household. So no one else can wake up Tom without him being a beast or the main lead. So in every other versions, he's a jerk to the wait staff because he's kind of mean when he first wakes up. No matter what, he's always got that beast nature to him. But to the main female lead, he's not. He's kind and sweet and wants to just have more time with her and is thankful for every moment that he has with her.
Yeah. Oh.
And in this, Tom is sort of the same, but it's got a little bit of a different thing going on because the show always has a little bit of a different thing going on symbolically.
Yeah, it does. And I love that Gorya's her initial reaction is like blames him, like she's surprised and then she blames him and he's like, this is my house, like this is my room.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything wrong. And she's like, wait, yeah, you're right. And she's like, you're right. And she's like, this is so unfamiliar.
Yeah.
And she kind of smiles at him like she knows that she's becoming attracted to him. Like this line kind of threw me for a loop. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if it's an exact translation. I don't know if the translation is just a little off, but when she says that this is unfamiliar, I could see so many meanings here that it's driving me bonkers. But one of the ones that I like the most is probably just, I'm uncomfortable, but I'm also like, that's the only thing I can say in this situation because what's actually going on in my mind is that I'm very attracted to you. And this is very weird being so close, like being in such close quarters. And there's a lot of intimacy in this situation. Seeing him unclothed and being in his room and his bathroom.
Being a personal maid means you're the one that has access to his most intimate spaces, which is his bedroom. You gave her the keys to be in the room whenever she needs to be.
Exactly.
Just not chit-chatting all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's when she comes in and says that she's got to feed him. And I love this. I want to call this out in terms of the directing and the filming of it, because it was really funny that both of them are already facing her, like when she came in and she like kind of announced her presence. But then if you see the what thing, they both are facing one way and then they both turn.
Yeah.
So they made that like moment just more comedic and more ridiculous.
Yeah, and like Tom is also like I don't need to be fed, but then he's like, oh wait.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, definitely. I think I captured it the next one. Yeah. So and to use like it's daily routine, right? And to the maid's like, yeah. And then Tom's like, oh yeah, that's definitely. I love that he's like laughing before she turns around. Then she turns around, he's like serious. Yeah.
I need to be fed my food like a baby.
Oh, it was so funny. And he makes her blow on the spoon.
Yeah, blowing on things. That's sexual.
Yeah. For many reasons. I love the blowing part, obviously, but then she purses her lips every time she does it.
Yeah.
and he's like watching that because he's watching her lips. Like all of this is just building up.
And he's in his bed in his love robe,
Yeah.
being fed
Yeah.
by his true love, who is cultivating him.
Finally.
She's feeding him all of the love that he has been desiring.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's cute if she weren't so like embarrassed.
And then Ren takes a picture.
Yes. It's perfect. It's perfect. I love that Ren is the one who shows up. Again, he's the perceptive one, so of course that's the one that sees it and takes the picture. But then the F4, we transition to the F4 and they're all joking about the picture and how funny it was. And Gorya's like, you're not going to do anything with that, right? And MJ's like, of course we're not going to do anything with it. Like, don't worry. Like, we are your court now. We're not going to cause any trouble. Like, we're your knights, you know? So no, of course we wouldn't humiliate you that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ren calls out Gorya for being stressed. He's like, you're really stressed right now.
He's always testing her to see how she's doing.
Yeah.
like it's like taking her emotional temperature all episode.
Yeah,
it's really
exactly.
interesting.
It very much so. Yeah. And so then she says, like, this thing with Lita's not done. I have to pay for this vase.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been able to go to the flower shop and
worried about work.
Worried about hunting. She hasn't been able to see her friend. And so they basically tell her, like, you know, we got this. Like, you do your work.
MJ's like, I got a guy who's really great.
Yeah, that's
like,
right.
What guy do you have? You have Kavin.
You have a guy.
You have that guy, and he's like, again, we're like, was he tricked into going there, or was he just like, MJ's like, hey, Gavin, like, Gorya needs help at the shop, and he's like, oh, I'll go. Yeah, honey's there. Yeah,
I have a theory.
Okay,
well, it's not a theory. I have like a headcanon. Like, obviously Gawain does not need another reason to go there. Like, yeah, he has hunting there, which we know he kind of secretly likes. He also has the flower connection with the garlands, but I think that the reason why he's there and not with the rest of the F4 during this entire episode is because he is avoiding getting involved in the Lita, Thyme, Gorya situation.
Yes, because it brings back memories of pain.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
But then, so yeah, when we get this epic, oh my God, this is like beyond epic. I didn't
Isn't this interesting that he uses sex to sell the sex organs of plants?
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Seriously? Didn't even think about that. Like, of course not. The flower symbology is so weird. It's just so weird.
I mean, he literally is holding a flower and like lip side.
Oh my God. I love it.
This is all a sex metaphor.
Yeah. I love it so much.
Oh, win.
He's so good at this role. Like, oh my goodness. Like, he has such a star power about him, which, haha, funny star. But seriously, like,
yeah,
it's nuts. Like, but the fact that he does this and then all the women come running, especially if you have that kind of meta contextual knowledge of when being the kind of the star that he is now after like Together series, all the women running towards him, it's just so funny to me. It's so funny to me. And then also the part where he puts the chapstick on, or the balm on, what I know what call it,
like
the lip
he's
gloss.
Getting ready to be like, mwah.
Yeah, and then he's like, come on. Let's do this.
This reminds me of something that happens in all the other versions, where usually it's the Gawain and MJ characters sell out the shop.
Yeah.
Whatever the shop is, like the candy shop or the coffee tea shop or this shop. But he's doing it all on his own.
All by himself. I love that. Yeah, because he's so handsome. Because that's typically what it is. It's like he and the MJ character will do it based on their handsomeness. And they talk about that like before, like he says, yes, you just need like a very certain face, a very nice face. And she's like, my face? And he's like, no, my face.
No, my
like,
face.
My face alone can do this, can sell all the flowers in this shop. And that's so funny, especially like combined with the, you know, the flower stuff about him being a hydrangea, like him being a flower himself and all of that. Like he's selling himself. So it's so well done.
Yes.
So we go back to the F3 talking about what's going on with Lita, and MJ, it's like, you know, Lita hasn't left her house. She deactivated all her social media accounts. We can't get in touch with her. And this starts kind of this idea of Lita is shutting off her like humanity. She's starting to cocoon and she doesn't let anybody in. And that's going to end badly for everyone, because when you do that, bad things happen. And Tom's like, let me go with you guys to her house. And Ren's like, no, you need to stay here.
Yeah.
And you need to look after Gorya.
But this is all like the idea that like, okay, I'm going to talk about my thing now. Okay. This is all from the idea that we as people feel like we need to be doing something all the time.
Yeah.
Right. To solve the problems, we must go out there and fight the battles. And sometimes the best thing you can do is literally wait for time.
Yeah.
Right. Something I've learned like in my life is like, sometimes problems take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And also sometimes you just need to give people time to resolve things. And sometimes when you answer an email too quickly, or you go out and try and solve a problem too quickly, you realize it would have solved itself 2 days later.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. It's just like, it's a wisdom thing. And he keeps
Yeah.
on thinking of his first part of his journey where he needs to go and fight the monsters and struggle. He's beyond that now.
He is beyond that. It's a new lesson. It's a new lesson that needs to be learned.
Can I briefly talk about his outfit in this scene just before he moves on to the outside scene? As well as, you know, like it's really sweet that like both MJ and Ren realized like he's the only one who can take care of Gorya. They can't do it for him.
Yeah.
Like he has to be the king and the master of his domain. You know, it's like, you got to do this. Okay.
You're the only one that can do this. Yeah.
I don't know, being bored this week, I did super duper extra analysis on 2 things, which was we had one shot of him with a red umbrella standing out in the yard, but we get a better look at his outfit in this scene itself. So he is wearing sort of a 4-piece outfit. He's got his colorful pants, which we've already talked about, means that he feels like he's supported. Anytime he's wearing super like a mixture of colors, he feels like he's being supported by his crew. F4. And then he's got his chained bracelet, which is like he is being chained to Lita. He feels pulled to her. And then he's wearing a Louis Vuitton shirt, which is called the Hook and Loop monogrammed short sleeve t-shirts. And as well, he's wearing a loose necklace, which is the Louis Vuitton symbol. Louis Vuitton is a very famous, originally started out as like a luggage company. I won't go into that. If you can find my thread on Twitter if you want to read all about the history of Louis Vuitton. But the key is that they created a brand from serving sort of the royalty of France
Right.
and to give them a need, to solve a need for them. And it, since that time, it became heavily associated with wealth and power, and only the most wealthy and powerful people wore the Louis Vuitton symbol, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or used the Louis Vuitton products. And his shirt actually is coated in the Louis Vuitton sort of, it's like the brand logo and sort of style of what they put on all their products.
Yeah, the pattern.
The pattern, yeah.
Right.
And the pattern is made up of the Louis Vuitton symbol, which is the overlapping L and V,
Right.
a star, a flower, and a crystal.
All the symbols that we have seen in the show so far.
Yeah. And this specific shirt actually has hook and loop is Velcro, basically. So his entire shirt is fuzzy.
Yeah.
And he can take the pocket, the thing that's over top of his chest, over top of his heart, and it's actually a movable pocket that has a zipper. So he could move it anywhere he wanted to, but he chooses to have it over top of his heart.
Yeah. Yeah, because we saw a picture of the pocket on like kind of the lower part of the shirt, and
Yeah.
one of the models had it different. So yeah, they could deliberately place it anywhere they wanted to on the shirt, and they placed it over his heart.
So he's still technically
So
an
cool.
animal skinned person, but he is in full glory of his power and prestige, covered in stars and flowers and crystals, because he's emotionally married to Gorya. Right? Crystals. And the crystal shape is a rhombus, which is a common sort of engagement ring shape.
Right.
And his heart is too full for his chest, so he needs an extra pocket to carry it in, because he's so in love with Gorya.
Of course.
Is that a good summary?
Yes, it's a good summary. It's a great summary. It's a great summary. I love it. I love the pocket thing. It's hilarious. Yeah,
there's more in the garden. Now we're out in the garden.
I know. So basically what happens next is that the guys tell him, like, they tell him, you have to look out for her, but don't be too obvious, which is silly, because like, why would he need to not be obvious with Gorya? Like, why are they telling him this? The only reason they're telling him this is because this is the fairy tale of it, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have any actual realistic meaning. There's no reason to tell him this.
No.
It's saying that, like, you need to allow her to do the trial. You can't help her on her trial, but you need to be there just in case something bad happens. Like, it's such a weird moment.
It is. And
they tell him, don't be too obvious,
don't be too obvious. Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm Tom. Why? I'm not gonna be obvious.
He's so not obvious that he brought his own shade to hide in.
I like that. Yeah, MC did an entire thread on
umbrella symbolism.
There's so much, like, please go check out her thread. But
yeah,
if we want to summarize it, like, how would you summarize? Because I mean, they just told him to protect her.
Yeah.
And umbrellas protect you.
Yeah, they protect you from the rain and the sun. Right. They're associated with godlike power. Specifically, it's a red umbrella, so it's Tom's love and him as a mature lover. So this is his power and protection of Gorya. There's a lot of history about how they represent godlike power, and they're more heavily associated with the sun. And what does his name mean? Akira, the sun. So it represents his power to protect you from too much sun too.
Yeah.
And what is too much sun? It's other stars and celestials like Lita and his mom. She's growing right now, right? It's also used, umbrellas are used to protect plants during sensitive periods of times, too much rain, too much water, etc. And she's
Yeah.
currently in her umbrella actually comes from the Latin word umbra. So he's like hiding, but also ready, standing by with his own protection while she's going through her trial.
Yeah.
While she
Yeah.
grows.
Well, she grows, and she's like,
Mhm.
and a big thing about like growing like hedges and stuff, when you like trim hedges, you're trimming them to grow the right way.
Yeah.
So and this is something that bothered me. So when everyone was talking about the blind thing, the blind theory, like Goya's blind theory, they were like saying that she looked like she was touching the the bush to try to see where she could cut, and that drove me bonkers, because if you've ever cut a bush, like, you have to touch
Yeah.
it to
Yeah.
feel for where the limbs
It's
are
too big.
protruding, right?
Yeah.
So you have to do that by feeling, not necessarily by sight, because by sight it depends on the perspective that you're looking at the bush. So there's definitely some symbology going on with perspective and growth, and like trimming the hedge in order to help it to grow better and all of that. So this is
Yeah.
about like Gorya is doing this kind of impossible trial thing that she's been handed, but she's also cultivating herself. Like, she's helping
Yeah.
herself to grow.
And she's trimming away the things, like the things she doesn't need to shape herself
Yeah,
into a new vision of herself. That's also really important,
exactly.
because gardening is not just cultivating. Gardening gone wild with cultivation means nothing is really usable. You have to trim things back. You have to
Exactly.
remove plants you don't need. You need to work on yourself to refine it exactly the way that you need to see. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there he is, just like watching over the meteor garden. Um and
Yep.
then right in front of him is a stag and a doe, and
Yeah.
she is low, like she's down, leaning down, just
Hmm.
like the doe is kind of like down towards lower, and the stag, it has like a crown of
Yeah.
antlers.
Yeah. It's
And
very, very
yeah,
much that. Hmm.
umbrellas are also associated with royalty in Thailand, but I won't go into too much of that. Just he is the king, right? Like this is, and she's the
Yeah.
maid, and this is the relationship right now. But
Yeah. And
yeah.
there's stuff going on with the stag, and the idea of like Tom is now filled with miraculous energy, because
Mm-hmm.
stags typically are symbolized in that, like, they're very energetic, and they're very fast and wild and strong. And Tom has just been gifted by the gods, through his death and rebirth. He's been gifted the gift of immortality, or uh indestructibility,
Mm-hmm.
because
It's
he's been,
regeneration as well. Like
yeah,
he's,
regeneration.
yeah,
It's like, and Joseph Campbell calls it miraculous energy.
yeah.
That's what he calls like what the hero has been instilled with during this part of the journey, and it makes him feel indestructible. It makes him feel like I can do anything. Which is funny, because the entire episode Tom is like, I should be doing something.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
should be doing something, but his
But
friends are constantly telling him like,
and his
don't.
trial is to wait
Yeah.
and to be
Yeah.
patient. Yeah.
I
And to
like that.
protect, right? And that's sometimes harder. You don't have anybody to fight. You just have to be vigilant.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's also
Yeah.
something going on with I mentioned before, this theme of concentrating, focusing,
Yeah.
and Goya says, I can't focus on this with you standing there. Like, I'm
Hmm.
distracted. And then she cuts herself, and she calls it out too, to him in that scene after, or in this scene, but in the shot after, like, I did it because I was distracted by you. Like, how can I concentrate when I'm distracted by you? this again just goes to that theme of this entire episode of I can't see what's before me. I can't see what's ahead of me. I don't know what's going to happen next. So on all of that, which
I just love how we have the, like, literally they're framed in the one
Mhm.
moment on the slide, in the GIF. You see the stag and
Yeah.
her, and
Yeah.
you see the doe and the stag, and then you see him and Gorya,
It's
like, and
literally,
they're
yeah.
paralleled.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
yeah, like, I just want to shout out to my friend Missy, Fangirling Only on Twitter, who posted this thing about how stags are sometimes referred to as heart,
Right.
because
Right.
he's over brimming with the heart. So we have the umbrella, we have his shirt, and we have the stag all
Mm,
in the same frame. Like, they're just laying on that he is a mature king. He's coming there, like, he's getting there,
yeah.
and he's trying to be there for her, but you cannot walk somebody's journey for them. She has to do this. That's also what she's telling him.
Absolutely.
But we get this, she cuts her finger, and then we get this flash of Lita. And although blind gate was not actually a thing, Lita is in front of her.
Yeah. She can only see Lita. She can't see
Yeah.
Tom. She can't see. She can only
Yeah.
see the darkness. And this is going to be really important for the point I'm going to make later about what Lita represents for Gorya. She can only think about Lita. She can only see Lita right now. It's super, super, super important for her journey because Lita is representing something within herself.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not ready to talk about it yet.
That's okay. I think it's just important to call this out right at this moment because
100%.
yeah,
100%.
yeah,
Yes, she can't see what's in front of her. She wants to look at Tom. She wants to have this
yeah.
moment with him, but she can't.
It's just I really find it fascinating that, like, the fandom was like, she's blind, and we're like, she can't be blind, but actually, in a way, metaphorically, she is. Ah, wow, this fandom is deep. I give it, like, a lot of credit to, like, kind of our unconscious psychology,
Yeah.
picking up on, like, things like, just
Yeah.
in the ether, in the collective unconscious.
Well, and you and we talk about these things in a very like cerebral way, and we kind of jump to certain conclusions based on symbols and based on visuals and all of that. So I I mean, our entire fandom has been kind of adopting this way of reading the show that I find really
Which
funny.
I love. It's more people who are like, "Hey, MC and Ty, did you see this?" And we're like, earlier on when she was doing the folding of the laundry outside, for a moment it looks like she has a veil on her because of the gazebo behind her.
Yes, I didn't gif
And
it, but yeah, there is a moment where and the maids are like positioning her right
kind of like a
in front of
bride.
it. Yeah, like a
And
bride.
and
Yeah.
and I'm like, this show,
Yeah.
we just can't possibly catch everything. So we
No.
love that other people are like coming along on the symbolic journey, and you can't, like, once you start to see stuff like this, you really can't unsee it. So we apologize in
Yeah.
advance.
Well, and like we keep telling people like, we want other people to be involved in the discussion. Like as much as it's about self-promotion, it's also about the fact that our individual psyches can only do so much.
Yep.
So, 1,000 people, 2,000 people, that's amazing. But like to get even more than that, it's always better to get more people because everyone projecting their psyche onto this story is going to give us new meat to dig into. It's going to give us something else, something that somebody saw that no one else saw, just simply because they have different experiences and they relate to something a little differently. So
Yeah.
it's all super important.
On to you.
On to you. Okay. So then we get so what happens before is that Gorya tells Tom, like, I got this. Like in that moment, it seems like he's gonna take a band-aid out of his pouch. Like a
Yeah.
lot of us talked about that. Like,
Yeah,
it
they
really
might have done that.
does.
Yeah, but this isn't more important that she's like, I'm doing this trial on my own.
Yeah, she's like,
Yeah.
I can bandage myself. I got this. Like, so she goes,
Yeah.
she does that, and of course, Auntie Yu shows up, and this is where she gives her 2 cents on everything. And Gorya says everything is complicated, and then she responds, "This is complicated. What else are you going to be able to handle?
Mm-hmm.
Like this is nothing compared to the stuff you're going to have to go through, darling."
Yeah.
Ugh. And then she says, she tells her not to think. She tells her, like,
Yeah.
stop thinking, but you're gonna think anyway. And she talks about how they're very similar. She says, like,
Mm-hmm.
we're basically the same. We take care of other people before we take care of ourselves, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then she comes clean about the vase not being expensive.
Yep.
So can I talk about the Baba Yaga stuff?
Yeah, we need to talk about Baba Yaga. Like,
Yeah.
how often do you get to like talk about Baba Yaga in general conversation? I mean, like,
So true.
who is Baba Yaga?
Baba Yaga is a fairy tale old witch archetype that comes from Russia
Yep.
and like the Slavic countries. And she is in a lot of fairy tales of that area. And she is basically this old witch character that exists out in the woods with a big cauldron
That flies.
She flies.
Yeah,
She
the
eats
cauldron flies.
people. Oh, the cauldron flies?
Yeah,
The cauldron flies.
she rides in it occasionally, and the house has legs that walk.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
she could, like, part of the mythos of it is that like she could literally be in any wood.
Yes.
Like, it's a little bit like Santa Claus, and that like he sees you no matter what. Like, it's kind of like omnipotent power.
Actually, the analogs of Baba Yaga tend to be Santa Claus. So
Yeah.
Baba Yaga has analogs all over the analogs, meaning like it's the same myth.
Yeah,
It's
no. It's the same
mythic.
psychologically. I just like it comes from a feminine power perspective, and she's a crone,
Right.
psychologically.
There's actually, yes, she's a crone, an old lady. There's an analog in Italy that is very reminiscent of Baba Yaga, who would go into people's houses and either leave the children gifts or leave them a piece of coal.
I think Krampus, which is an analog for Santa Claus, it is more like Baba Yaga because he's the one who eats the children that are naughty.
No, that they're all analogs of Baba Yaga.
Yeah, no, I'm just like from being closer.
Yeah,
because she eats people who are bad.
She's so yes, Baba Yaga and her analogs can be both completely horrible, evil, deter you from your path, set up obstacles for you, eat you, right? Or can help you, can provide riddles that you have to solve, and then therefore give you gifts if you solve those riddles.
Yes.
The funny thing is that like Baba Yaga is also like an extremely maternal character, and it's rooted in that the projection of the psyche of the mother who is both spiteful of her children, but also wanting to help them and wanting them to grow. So she puts obstacles in their path in order for them to become better, but she also maybe is harboring some very awful feeling towards them and wants to put them back into her body. I don't want them to have ever been born. I just want to eat them and just have them have never existed, right? This is very dark feminine symbolism
stuff. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good stuff because like when you confront shadows and dark feminine, it tells you something about yourself.
Exactly. So in this and this particular story,
the story of Vasilisa.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, I was gonna let you So
Oh,
I'll let
do
you
want
talk
me to-
about, yeah, but I just wanted to say like that
Oh, sure.
the help and deter stuff, right? Is that with the whole vase thing, like,
Yeah.
oh, it wasn't actually expensive. She is helping and deterring Gorya at the same time. She's taking
Yeah.
her off of her path. She's distracting her, right? That's another big theme of the episode. But she's also helping her to say, like, stop thinking, just go with the ways of the world. Stop thinking and just listen and just be. So, okay, so tell us about the Vasilisa stuff. And because this tale, which is a Baba Yaga tale.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of them. So this is
Mhm.
not the only one, but Vasilisa is a Cinderella-like figure in
Mhm.
that her mother actually had died at some younger age, and her father remarried a wicked stepmother with two daughters who didn't do things around the house. And in fact, it was
Mm.
Vasilisa that cared for the house and made sure that the fires were lit and everything was clean, and she did all of the work.
Mm.
One day her father leaves because he was a merchant, and the stepmother and daughters trick Vasilisa by putting out the fires in the house and say that Vasilisa must go and um basically go and beg of fire from Baba Yaga, who resides in the woods. And they
Mhm.
know Baba Yaga
Yeah.
eats people.
Yeah, yeah. So they're putting her into this trap.
Yes.
Mhm.
And Baba Yaga, she comes across Baba Yaga, and um Baba Yaga is like, okay, you are obviously sent here to die. So, but you know what? That interests me because you're a good person, and you're not your normal person, right? There's always like a level of compassion or something about this character that
Mm.
is always thriving. Because Vasilisa was scared, she brought along the doll that her birth mother, had made for her. And
Right.
this doll uh slowly gives her guidance through the journey to Baba Yaga's. And then when Baba Yaga confronts her, the doll gives her sort of advice on what to say and how to act.
Yeah.
And
Because
so
yeah, and I just wanted to,
yeah,
because Baba Yaga in this particular story tells her, because she gives her all these impossible trials.
yeah.
And I'm just gonna quote from
Mhm.
uh the the story. She says, wash my clothes, sweep the yard, and clean my house, prepare my food, and separate the milled weed corn from the good corn, and see that everything is in order. I will be back to inspect your work later. If it is not done, you will be my feast.
Mhm.
And this is always the challenge that is proposed by the Auntie You character in every single version. And like you said, the doll, though.
Yeah, the doll gives her advice to do certain things. And at one point, Vasilisa falls asleep.
Mm.
and and this is during the most impossible task, which is to separate all the different corn, like the
Milled
ground
weed from the,
milled
yeah.
milled weed. It's impossible for her to do in the period of time that um sort of she was given.
Right.
But intuition sort of leads her that like magically people that she had come across in the past that actually represent the sun help
Mm.
her uh through it, right? So it's sort of like time and the universe is helping her out by
Mm.
waiting,
Yeah.
by falling asleep, by giving in some ways. But the doll represents in this story um our own intuition, that our brains are often too noisy and loud to listen to. Like that deep, like, especially in Vasilisa's perspective, the gift from her mother, the feminine intuition that she relies on saves her.
Yeah.
And in the story, because she is successful in listening to her inner voice, she comes back and Baba Yaga gives her a gift of a skull that has lit fiery eyes. And it basically ends up killing her stepfamily. And Vasilisa is unharmed by it. She buries it according to the crone's instructions. She becomes a cloth maker in Russia's main capital city and eventually marries the Tsar.
Yeah. So that's the the happily
that's
ever
the
after.
reward.
That she
is
gets,
like
she gets a prince, she gets a Tsar. And it's so funny because we were talking about this myth before we started recording, and like one of the things that I was like when Marie Claire was recalling this, because we've been reading the women who run with wolves,
yes,
by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, and this is a big part of that book, but also in Maureen Murdoch's Heroine's Journey, which is very similar, just very different symbols that they use. She talks a lot about Eros and Psyche. And when Marie Claire was talking about this story, I was like, that sounds, are you sure that's not what Psyche had to do? Because like the sifting through the different types of corn, and doing that this is a very, I didn't even think about the fact this is actually really common. So in Eros and Psyche, Psyche has to sort mounds of seeds, and what ends up happening is that the ants come and help her. And one of the interpretations of that myth from Robert Johnson is that the ants are actually representative of Eros himself. So they say like Eros being this Psyche's animus, right? And Eros is a shapeshifter. So even though it's never explicitly said that Eros helped her, Eros helps her in the form of the ants that help her sort the grains and all of that, and in other parts of her trial as well. So
there's a voice that is helping her as well and guiding her and telling her to wait or telling her to be patient, and that is the voice of Demeter, which is the earth goddess. Right, so the earth mother earth is telling her these things. So these archetypes and these things, like, we have to listen, we have to be quiet enough, we have to have calmness enough, and this is so antithetical to how we view hero's journey, which is like, or heroine's journey typically, which is like, we need to be rush, right?
To do something.
Auntie Yu in this scene, who is explaining everything, also says it's to give you enough time to wait, to think, to not have to think, to listen to yourself. She doesn't answer any of the questions that, or any of the riddles that she proposes. Like, I didn't understand you at first, now I do. And Gorya's like, what do you mean? And what she's saying by this is she wants Gorya to listen to herself and answer that question. Why are you special, Gorya? Because that's the lesson that you need to learn from all of this. Tom, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what my opinions are of you, even though Gorya cares about her opinions of her. But she's like, none of that matters. Just listen to yourself. And the first
inner goddess power.
Yes.
Like, because that's the first step, is to understand that you have the power and to listen to it and know that it's there.
Exactly.
And like, it's such a common like femme archetype and story that like, it's really important to call out this challenge is just like an older, wiser version of yourself is telling you to listen to your internal power. Right. And your internal intuition and the thing that makes you, because it will guide you.
100%.
that is
Oh,
so good.
it's so
Like,
good.
it's so good. And like, she reflects exactly how Gorya feels, but she doesn't tell her the answers because
No.
that's really important. Like, and I mentor people like in my regular life, just, because I want to help other people. And one of the things I always tell people is what you aim for is to figure out who the best version of yourself truly is and start being that person. Right?
Yeah.
Ask yourself, what would the best version of you, or the awesomest, I use awesomest because sometimes the best version has a connotation of like good, but
Right.
like, what would the awesomest version of you do in this moment? And just start doing that, because then you
Yeah.
will have stepped into those shoes and start acting that way. And it's a little bit riddly because it's a fairy tale and she's Baba Yaga in this situation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just she's gotta read between the lines. Okay.
And then
So
we get this great, like, oh, which is the most exhausting? Oh, Gowan
she says
takes the
Gowan.
cake.
I
Takes the
love that.
cake. And then we get a cut to Gowan.
Yep, we get the cut.
Brilliant.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Because he is exhausting.
Yes. Oh, he is very much so. Very much so. So he is working at the flower shop, and I think at some point they because they're wrapping up the kissing thing, and
Uncle Ga kisses him on the cheek.
Kisses him on the cheek. He gets that last little kiss, which is adorable. And then Hunning is ready to go home for the evening. She's done with work. But she has a flower garland in her bag that she's been practicing with the patterns that he had given her.
She also says she was going to go visit Gorya.
Yeah.
And
something else I didn't mention was that they text Gowan.
Right.
And they say, Lita doesn't want to see us either. What do we do now?
Yeah.
And Gowan completely ignores it. Yeah. And that's what, and he like goes after Hunning and holds her back. Like he is avoiding dealing with all of that.
He is, yes. And also he's keeping Hunning separate from Gorya. Like he is standing in both of their ways. Yeah. Basically between them, right? Because they know that they need each other to like grow. They need each other. And he's like, no, I have another trial for you, my dear. But no, because and this goes to stuff that we've talked about before with it, which is like the king and the maiden,
right? The king and the clever girl,
the clever girl, that.
Like,
yeah,
past my challenges, past the obstacles I lay before you, and therefore you will become my queen. But he doesn't know that at the time.
And he's like, and to what you've talked about in the past,
right?
He's been working for free.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Like,
that's funny.
Right? He's been working for free. Like, this is where you talked about how the clever girl and the king, like, he gives her all these trials. Like, he's like, here's this very difficult pattern. Right? And you want to get into flower garlands. Oh, that's very hard. I'll teach you if you want someday. And she's like, oh, I'll just do this on my own. I'll look it up on the internet. And she's teaching on her own. And we get that confirmation last episode and this episode. But then he keeps on working at the flower shop for free. Like, he's proving himself to her, just like what you said, Ty.
Yeah. It's a thing for him as well. Like, they're challenging each other in a way, but it's like, it's a big deal for him to come down from his own ego and to kind of lower himself in a way to be able to challenge her, but also that's that whole like moving goalpost thing that makes it really sexy. And can you pass this challenge? Okay, you passed it. Here's what's next. It's just very cool. But then he says, which is the moment I've been waiting for, I'm going to teach you today. I'm going to teach you today. Actually going to teach you, which so good. So then he tells her,
what does he teach her?
He teaches her about love. not what the lesson was supposed to be going.
No. But like it's actually laying the groundwork for her final challenge, which is to understand why he is broken in love. Like,
right.
what is his curse?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's so funny because like Gawain uses this idea of love and romantic love. We talked about last episode, the idea of like consummate love versus romantic love versus like different types of love. And Gawain he is no longer going to fulfill the commitment side of love, but he is so invested in romantic love. He is not, that does not make him a good partner. He's missing the commitment component. So he is, of course, well versed in the ideas of love. So he teaches her this, and he says, garlands were used to, women would throw them into to the man that they wanted to marry, that they thought there was their soulmate.
Yep.
That's what they were used for. And we know that he is seducing her because he's the kitsune and all of that.
Yeah, he is the master of seduction, right? Like
right.
That is his character. And he keeps on being like, don't be distracted by me, but then distracting her.
Yes, like so purposefully.
Because it is the challenging stuff, right? Like he specifically mentions things that would be challenging. And later on in this episode, she has been trying to throw a garland at her soulmate.
Yeah, she has.
Like she's like, I got this broken one, and he's like, this is not a very good one. And then she makes a better one, but keeps on getting like unable to hit him with the garland.
Yes.
So I suspect at some point he will accept it.
Yeah, it's very purposeful what they're doing with it. I love that though. He does tell her like, are you distracted because you're thinking of me? Like, stop being distracted, like concentrate on this. Again, this is that theme of this dang episode. Like, stop seeing things out of focus. And Haning is giving into her instinct, and she's giving into her emotional needs and wants much more than Gorya.
Oh, absolutely. She's like, I know what I want.
Yeah.
Let me just build you a sexy enough garland for it.
Exactly. And even though
that's your mating flower language, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll build you the best garland out there. It's very Rapunzel, right? Like I'll
yeah,
this entire room, even though it ends up being, sorry, not Rapunzel, Rumpelstiltskin. Those two names. Yeah, it's
you did that last time.
I know.
It's really
Rumpelstiltskin. No, this entire room will be made out of gold. I'll replenish the kingdom's coffers.
Yes.
No, I'll make you the best garland in existence. It's gorgeous.
Yes. Oh Lord. She does an amazing job. I mean, like, we know she didn't actually make it probably, but Haning does an amazing job. But yeah, so she pokes herself on the thing because like we said, like she's distracted by him. She's giving into her needs and her wants. She is starting to pursue him. And
prick of a finger. What does this mean?
Prick of a finger. I love that, like, so this has happened so many times on this darn show, and this is the first time that it actually has the fairy tale meaning that we're so familiar with.
It does, yes.
It's the very first time. And she doesn't bandage it.
No, she sucks on it.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's just
amazing. I lost it. Like when she sucked on her finger and then shook her head.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So sorry, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Calm down, Ty.
The
symbolism.
Oh my God. Okay. So I'm going to go back because I do have to summarize this.
Please.
So she pricks her finger. He immediately jumps to like see what's wrong. Like the hero that he is. And then they have this moment where they're looking at each other, and he thinks about Mona, who's his.
Yeah. We get a flash
Mona,
of
like,
an innocent Mona from the
mhm.
past.
Yeah, and he immediately backs away. So we're starting to see more of his backstory come in, which is great. And then he gets up and he's like, I'll go get the first aid kit. And she's like, no, it's okay. And she puts her finger in her mouth. And then he says, are you a vampire or something? And she shakes her head with her finger in her mouth, which, I'm sorry, but that's literally like the thing, like the seduction move where girls put their finger kind of on their teeth.
Yeah.
And like kind of like wiggle. Like, come on. This is so but she's innocent. She's innocent.
Yeah. And I mean, this is a little bit of like first blood stuff, right?
It's so even bringing up the vampire stuff, like,
yeah, vampires are sexual.
What?
Like, yeah, pricking your finger for the
God.
first time is a metaphor for having
Losing
sex,
your virginity.
losing your virginity.
Yeah.
And then sucking on it is inherently sexual.
Yes.
It's desire, it's all of this stuff. It's also omen-esque because love is painful.
It's also like kind of eating that darkness, right?
Yeah,
so
eating that desire, so now it's part of her.
Instead of bandaging it, instead of hiding it away, she's putting it into herself, and it's like embracing the shame, embracing the embarrassment, as opposed to not talking about it and just hiding it away.
And so everybody should watch Turning Red.
Yeah,
just a little plug out for that.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet, but MC did, and I mean, I know what it's about, so I'm excited.
Yeah, everyone should watch Turning Red.
But that's like the symbology here.
This is the same thing.
Yeah.
Turning red in a moment.
I love it. I love it. And again, we have to remember, like, there's still, I think Honeying is still 16 or 17 at this point. Probably 17 now. They might have glazed over their birthdays. I'm not entirely sure. But
I really don't know how much time has passed.
They said it was a year since
she met Tom, yeah,
in like the last couple episodes. So I think it was, I don't know, there's a possibility.
It's the summer.
I don't know if it's a full year. Yeah,
it's the summertime.
Yeah,
so
either way,
I don't think school has started again yet, because they're she could be a full-time maid. So.
Well, they had the schedule on Tom's computer where he looks up his mom's schedule. It says July.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
so
it's only been a couple of weeks, since Tom's birthday.
Right. So essentially, they are still like 16 or 17. The younger girls are, whereas the F4 are 18. So this is not real, but this is a coming of age story, and these girls are still teenagers, and they're experiencing all the things that teenagers experience. So this is all symbolic of that.
And then we get Gowan saying, sometimes the person you hurt the most is yourself.
Yep.
And then we get a flash to
Lita
avoiding Tom's incessant calls, which not a week earlier she would have been very over the moon to have received.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things happening here. One is that, again, I mentioned this earlier, Lita is cutting herself off from other people, and because she is not interacting with anyone, she's stewing, and there's a tea kettle present in the scene as well. So she is starting to like boil over as well. And Tom,
culmination of emotions that, like, usually it means you have to choose to do something now, or you'll basically just burst.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because you can let all this out with other people. Like, you can interact with other people, and Corey and I always say it's like we call it soundboarding.
Mm-hmm.
If I get stressed out, I just want to like rant at him, or I just want to like, if I'm trying to figure something out but I don't necessarily want him to talk back, so I need you to be my soundboard right now. And that's just the way we understand it. Everybody has this in relationships, like, but if Lita had someone to talk to, and if you say something out loud to someone, that comes back at you. That's why we call it soundboarding. Like, once it comes back at you, you go, oh, like, I just said that out loud. Like, okay, now I understand it. Now I get where it's coming from. Now I know what I need to do, or like whatever. So,
yep.
The fact that
you just need to hear it in a different way, or have it come back to you to actually hear it.
Exactly. Yep. But the fact that she is not doing that on social media or in real life means that this is getting to levels where she herself never would have acted in this way. She's only acting this way because she's not able to bounce that off of anyone else. So, and I wanted to bring this back to, the times where Tom did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Like, Tom shut himself in his room, and he wouldn't let the F4 in, he wouldn't let MJ in, and MJ sat on the other side of that wall the entire night, banging on the wall, and Tom just let it stew, and that ended up culminating in the big epic F4 fight. It's the same thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So then we get there had like a cute little moment here where Gorya comes over to Tom, and this is Tom's looking at his mom's schedule.
Yeah, and there's some really cute little Easter eggs in the schedule.
Yes, there's Tom's looking, and it's his mom's schedule. I don't know, some people thought it was his schedule for some reason, but
no, he says it was his schedule, or his mom's schedule, because he was trying to book tickets to bring him and Lita to go and talk to his mom so they could break it off. And I was like, wow, this is the breaking. Like, commonly later on in the plot, the main lead buys tickets for him and the female lead, Gorya, to go and see his mom, but that gets interrupted, and so she has to chase him.
Yes. Yeah.
But this was interesting because I was like, oh, tickets to see his mom. I see. Okay. Interesting. This is your go-to solution because you think your mom will listen to you.
Yeah, which it's kind of a last ditch effort on his part, because he can't contact Lita. He can't get a hold of her. But then the Easter eggs in the schedule, if anyone's wondering, are that Daming Se is mentioned in a meeting with the mom. So it says like meeting with Daming Se, which is obviously no. Is it Daming Ji or Daming?
It was Daoming Lee, I thought, but it was really unclear when I froze it.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it was with the name of one of the male leads.
Daoming Si is like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I saw on Twitter, that people were saying that it said meeting with Daming Se. And then one of the other ones was meeting with Gwam Janbi, which is the name of the female lead from the Korean Boys Over Flowers. So it was just a couple little cute little Easter eggs there, which is adorable. And then
he yells at he's like, stop festering me.
It's so cute because she's just trying to do her job.
Yeah, but he's like, he meant to say pestering, right? But festering me is actually really, really interesting. Because festering is a wound that hasn't closed, i.e. his unfinished business with Lita. And then he shows up.
That's funny. Or his unfinished business with Gorya, like, too. Like,
maybe
it's just like everything, right?
His wound is unclosed.
Yeah.
Everything is still, he hasn't dealt with what he needed to deal with.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it. I love him. I love him when he's like doing that cutesy, like playfulness look with her. Oh, it's so
Yeah.
good. But then yeah, Lita shows up, ruins the moment. And
Yeah.
Tom is like, aha, you're here. We can talk about this. Like, this is my plan.
You showed up. Yes.
Yeah.
Now let's break up. And it's just like,
Yeah.
no.
This is what we're doing. This is where we're going. Here's the plane tickets. And she rips
they have
him
little
up.
stars on them.
Yeah, the airline is probably the same airline she gets on later, but
yeah, but stars, you know, star symbolism.
Yes.
In this show is
Yes.
everywhere, right? Because the stars are, you know, up in the air and what they are. And, yeah.
Yep. And Lita calls him out and says, you know as well as anyone else that the person who has power in this house is your mom, and you even cannot oppose her.
Mm-hmm.
So you have no power here, little boy, is basically what she says to him. And then she orders Gorya to take her suitcase to her room or wherever she's going to stay. And I kind of glazed over this, but yeah, she asked Rosalind if she could move in to get closer to Tom. And of course, Rosalind said yes. So this is Rosalind's.
And again, we have the feminine power.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
With that vase coming back, you know, like who's the owner of this vase, truthfully? Right.
Right. It's Rosalind.
Yes.
Yeah. So Lita did the only thing she thought she could do in order to have power is to connect with Rosalind. Of course. But then, you know, Tom tries to stand up to Lita, and she uses the next power that she has,
which is her own. Yeah.
Right.
Through her parents. Yeah.
Yeah. And she threatens Gorya. So puts
I'll
everyone
use
in
my power to destroy Gorya. You know I could do it.
Yeah.
And Tom is like, ugh, it's gonna be like this, is it?
Because like again, this is he's literally put in an impossible situation. Like,
yeah.
But okay, so there's a moment,
and also this is really, really important because this is a woman's fight in some ways, right? Like women need to resolve their own stuff, and he can't fight and he can't do anything in this situation.
No,
it's Gorya's turn to wait. It's, you know, Auntie Yu's turn to help. It's Rosalind has the power to fix this all, obviously, right? But Lita, she is exerting her will over the situation, but anything that Tom would try to do in any of these situations would be rejected. He was rejected by Auntie Yu. He was rejected by Gorya. He was rejected by Lita. He's rejected by his mom. He is literally stuck. And then we get this friggin' shot, this symbolic shot, which you do not have a gif of because I messaged you right before we recorded.
Sorry.
It's not your fault that I noticed the most symbolic shot of the show ever.
It's literally, okay, the shot
right before this moment. Yeah. For this scene, there's a shot, a random shot of a Cupid statue.
Yes.
It is Cupid. He's got his little bow.
He's got his wings.
He's got his
little baby angel wings and stuff. Yes.
That is Cupid. It's statuesque.
So,
okay.
So I didn't know you were talking about the shot.
Well, it's right before this moment.
I forgot. I'm sorry. I literally have it down, and I think it's in a different spot. I think it's like after, I don't know. Anyways, right, I had it in the wrong spot. Spot.
Fair.
So this shot of the Cupid statue has been like on my mind all day long. And I wanted to talk about it in the conversation, but MC, before we got started, was like, she sent it to me and she was like, this is Cupid. And I was like, yeah, but like, why? Like, I mean, I was like, I see it and I understand it, but it just feels like it's just too, it's so deliberate. Like it's so deliberate.
It's such a deliberate.
They don't do these shots. They don't do these in between scenes establishing location shots unless like it's usually much wider. And this one they zoom in on a very specific statue in the yard. That's really weird.
I'm gonna be legit mad if they're like inspired by Cupid and Psyche. It would be like it's okay. So it's a little shot of Cupid, right? Of the little cherubim Cupid, who is Eros in the mythology that we've been talking about, right? The god of love. He's got his little bow and he's frozen like a statue, and then it zooms up towards the light.
Right, because it's like a lamp. It's like a lamp with the statue like underneath at the base. Yeah. But it's like little stars. Like it looks like like stars. It's oh my god.
In this part in Eros and Psyche, Cupid is hurt and asleep.
Yeah.
He's frozen like a statue. He is unable to do anything to help Psyche in her trials. He is stuck and injured. And I'm mad at this show because it's so good. And I'm like, did you know? What did you know? When did you know it?
I'm absolutely just floored by the whole thing.
Like random shot of Cupid thrown in. Was that for us?
Like, did he know? Like, does he know? Like, I'm just so confused. I'm so confused by the whole thing. I think
does he know about the heroine's journey? And we're like, I don't know, maybe. Like
maybe he's read some of like Robert Johnson, which is a little bit more like universally known.
And the writers are all women, so they could just be, listening to their own psyche, or they've read it, or they understand these things.
Right.
But like you just threw a Cupid statue at me after we've been talking about Psyche and Cupid all season. and like legitimately a statue, which is where Eros is at, or Cupid is at in his journey. He's frozen. He's unable to do anything. He has to wait. He has to be patient with other people as they're doing things.
Yeah.
What is this show, Ty?
Yeah. I mean, he can't go and help Psyche until she's completely past her trials. So yeah, it's really weird. Okay, so let's keep going. Oh, I wanted to mention, so there is a moment where Auntie Yu takes the suitcase from Gorya. She's like, I got it here from here on. Go to the store, fetch some things for me. This is so interesting because I was like, oh my god, meta commentary here. Like, she's saving her from the misunderstanding, because in every other version, the female lead walks in on what is about to happen.
Yeah.
Where the Lita character bears herself to him. And so the female lead gets this, she sees this and she sees that only. And it's, obviously it's a misunderstanding because she doesn't know what happens after that. But Gorya saved from that. They don't have to go through that. They don't have to go through that extra layer of conflict. Thank goodness, because misunderstandings are.
I don't think that I could handle. This show doesn't have time for too many misunderstandings at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't want to see Gorya get hurt out of misunderstandings.
Especially when there are other women involved, other feminine characters involved. It's she treasures her friendships with these women, so.
And it might have been too much for her to like get over.
Yeah, I just find it so interesting that, like, again, this entire episode is Gorya being concerned over Lita's feelings. Yeah. So the misunderstanding wouldn't have fit, like, it just would not have fit. So Lita, she says to Tom, so Tom is about to like he's about to do something with his like violence, but he doesn't, because he knows better now. He does that same movement that he always does.
And Lita noticed that like he's not violent anymore. He's not the same.
Yeah, she calls him out, and then he says
symbolically he was also gonna like wipe the board clean, like he's done with this game and he was gonna revert and things like that. He'll probably throw the chessboard at some point in the future when he reverts, I suspect.
That would be hot. but she says, I didn't think you were that kind of person, and he's like, I didn't think you were this kind of person. And he's like, no, this is not what you think it is. Like, you just want to win.
Yeah.
I really like this line. I really like this because he's mad, and I like that he's mad because, it shows how mature he's grown, because mature men, mature lovers, mature whatever, you can be mad. Like, being mad is okay. That's it's good to be mad. And he's mad at her.
And anger is actually quite useful because it motivates.
Yeah.
But it's what you do with it rather than it's what you do with it and how you act.
Exactly. And the fact that he doesn't jump to any violent acts, he doesn't hit anything, he doesn't punch anything, he's not acting violently towards her. He's just mad at her, and that's totally acceptable for the moment. And I find it super, super sexy and super endearing for his character.
Look at his bulging heart full of Gorya. So it's literally like in the way of him. It's like it's almost like a crest, or like it's protecting him in some way. It's so interesting. Like his heart is extra layered or protected.
He must have felt so awkward, like, wearing this thing. I can only imagine.
Is it Gong or Grit? The stylist is just like, just go with it. I wore this.
Oh yeah. I love it. Just go with it. This totally makes sense.
See the symbolism here.
So another weird thing I wanted to call out with the costuming here is Lita's shirt.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about it.
Oh my god. I might not have a lot, but like, really, I thought it was interesting, the part where she does say that she loves him. So if you look at the shirt before that part, it cinches right underneath her like bosom. I don't know how to say that, like that area. It cinches right there at the top, and there's obviously a part that holds it tight. But then when they cut to that wide shot and it shows her, it's like undone.
Yeah, it's like she's slowly
she's unraveling.
And it's the similar colors she wore before, but it's like messed up because it's also like got the white with stripes. Like it's like she's trying to be something she's not.
Yeah, and I've talked about that before, about it. Cream. I don't understand it quite yet, but I think it has something to do with her dimming her light.
Yeah, like it. And then she's like, well, I'm going to remove this, in a way, Gorya facade that I've been wearing.
Yeah.
And truthfully show you who I am and that I am desirable. And
I want to show you me and all of my light. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I want to show you how I shine on my own, which it's unfortunate that the symbol that Lita has here in burying herself doesn't fit the symbol in previous iterations. So there is an amount of shame that is brought with burying yourself, like getting naked in front of him. There is an instant shame, and I think that's unfortunate. And this is probably this is probably one of the only times in the show I could say that the material, the material's datedness is shining through, because I like the way that they handled this, but there's so much that they quite could not do. Like they couldn't quite change this part, because this happens in every version. They have to keep it. Like this is really important. However, they also have a contradiction happening with how Lita has been presented so far. And I don't know if Lita would feel that amount of shame for this moment.
Yeah.
That's, I don't feel, I don't know if this is good for, okay, how do I say this? A lot of people that I saw on Twitter today were saying that this was such a bad thing for Lita to do, and to get naked in front of him and to expose herself in front of him. And like, as a woman who is 30 years old, who is married, who has, been through her fair share of shame and sexuality and nudity, I don't think this should be that. I don't think this should be it should be dealt with a little bit better. This is not like, this is dated. Like,
yeah. So typically, why you do this is for an opportunity to be truly perceived.
yeah.
And I don't know if like why do people get sexy boudoir photos? Right? Maybe they're not even married and they still want to be perceived as an option.
There's a level of confidence here that Lita has that I think that should be praised instead of put down.
Yeah. Like, she's willing to be like, maybe I haven't gone far enough.
Yeah.
And she's willing to go far enough because she loves him in her mind, right? Like,
she loves it. She's already said
Yeah.
that she
Yeah.
is genuine about that.
Yes, and I do believe that she does love him based on like the text and like everything that we've gotten from the show.
It's her first love.
Yeah. I just think like she just does not realize how much Tom's heart is protected by a giant movable pocket filled with Gorya band-aids.
Exactly.
No, like literally, like it's like his heart is impenetrable.
Yeah.
In this moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I just sympathize with her so much.
Oh, yeah, no, it's supposed to be awkward. Like, it really is.
I just want people to like realize that, like, although she is ashamed with herself following this event, I don't think she should be. I don't think this is something to be ashamed of. I think that the action, I think the internal thing that was happening is what's to be ashamed about. What's happening externally, I don't think that's to be ashamed about. And I know that sounds really complicated and messy, but that's how all of this
Go
works,
watch Turning Red.
Killing me here. I'm gonna have to watch it tomorrow.
Because it's all about the complicated and messy parts of you being on full display.
Yeah.
And embracing that and understanding that that's a part of you, and you're better for understanding those things and coming to some sort of an arrangement with them within your soul.
Oh, I love that.
And this part of Lita is just as much a part of Lita. The person that is willing to become naked in front of the man that she loves because she feels no shame in the love that she has for him.
Well, and that's what we should take away from it, right? Is that the man that does love her will
embrace her.
And yeah. that is the thing that's happening. That's what she realizes in that moment. I think that is sort of diminished with the subsequent conversation that they have. And then it's also just, it's difficult to get around, like I said, with the fact that this is just a part of the source material. So
yeah,
it's hard to explicitly show this without it meaning what it means in the story already. So I don't know. I have complicated feelings about it. Okay.
That's fair.
I do. All right. So we move on to the grocery store where Gorya is at.
Staring at the produce at the aisle.
Yeah. And Ren is there looking after her as he does.
Yeah.
Which is funny because he called out in a previous scene that Tom is the only one that can look out for Gorya.
Oh, he's always there waiting in the wings. We've talked about this. Again, because of how consistent he is, I think there might be a moment when she comes back from her exile that he questions Tom's right.
I literally have this note. I'm so excited. So
you did?
So
you did?
Well, okay, like kind of like okay, but
Okay.
kind of. Okay, so the next part. Okay, there's a couple things.
Okay.
One, he pushes her cart.
Yes.
Right? So he's like carrying her load.
And he is very domestic.
He's very domestic.
Like it's like a husband and wife shopping. She's got the shopping list and he's pushing the cart.
Yep. Very, very domestic. But then he asks her, like, how, like, what are you thinking about Tom? Are you anxious about Tom? Which again, he's asked her this so many times.
Well, yeah, and he consistently does like Tom temperature checks.
Yes. Okay.
Like, so is he messing up enough that like I need to step in?
Exactly. And I wrote down the day she says she doesn't trust Tom or doesn't want him anymore.
Yeah, he would be there.
He will act on that. He will act on that.
Like, I feel like it was really early on in the show. I said, Ren will do whatever Gorya asks him to do.
Yeah.
Like if she said one day, Ren, I've thought about it and me and you, and he would be like, finally.
Yeah.
Right. But he would also back off for Tom and her because he will do what he is Lancelot. Like he will do what the queen wants him to do.
Exactly.
Although he is loyal to the king, he is also loyal to the queen.
Yeah.
Because of this courtly love thing that's going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
So her answer to this is that she's not anxious about Tom. She's like, no, I trust Tom. And then they go back to the scene.
And we see Tom being trustworthy.
Yeah, of course. And she says, no, I'm worried about Lita. But she's not worried about Lita being the bad guy. She says, I'm worried about Lita because I can't be there for her. Like I can't.
And the more that I trust Tom, the more love he will feel from me. And so the more he may accidentally hurt Lita.
Yeah.
That's what's being said. And she knows she can't get in the way of that. That's for them to resolve.
Yeah. Oh, so good. All right.
The only thing to do is wait.
So, oh my God. So we get this adorable moment with Gorya saying, I just died. She said, you don't need to be upset on my account. And then she's like, let's go ring up the groceries. And Ren does this cute thing where he like blinks twice in her direction. And then he kind of like giggles when she leaves. And like, oh my God.
When she pokes him in the cheek.
He's
my gosh.
Did I blush?
He literally seems shocked that she touched him in the face.
Yeah.
He looks at where she like touched him and is like, what? And then he's like, did I blush?
It's so good.
So
it's so good.
Again, like this happens in a lot of the versions where this character, when Tom sort of abdicates in a way his responsibility over Gorya, or that character, this character is like, hey buddy, no. Like, I don't think
Uh,
that you deserve her anymore. I don't
right.
think that you can take care of her anymore. And directly challenges him in a very similar way to the challenge that happened when Tom first thought that Gorya and Ren were together or something like that, right? Like it's very
Yeah.
similar to that, but it's more like, it's more in a way of like, I'm protecting her because you can't. And so I'm going to stand in the way because you hurt her too.
So very light spoiler talk, but it's not actually going to give anything away. Do you think they're going to do the bus scene? It's kind of iconic.
It's
When
that's only in 2018.
no,
Is it? Is it in
no.
all of them?
I think it's in all of them but 2005.
Oh.
It's definitely in 2001,
Oh, when she
which
decides
means
to
it's
get
in the
on the bus.
manga.
I mean,
Yeah.
they've done bus stuff before.
Oh, but it's very crucial to like when she chooses
No,
him over.
no, I know. And
Yeah.
they've
I'm wondering
I
what's gonna be.
wouldn't put it past them to bring a bus back because it's a shared journey that they are on, and then her choosing to not go on the journey with somebody else and all of that stuff
Yeah,
is
like what's gonna be the climax for her and Ren? What's gonna be the ultimate like breaking off point? Because he is crushing on her. There's
yeah.
something coming.
They have to resolve this, him blushing.
Yes. This is this is
There's a resolution coming for us. Like,
yeah.
yeah. But it ends up coming, he comes to realize that Tom won't give her up no matter what and stuff
Right.
like that. Like that's
Right.
usually what it is. Um
I
Do is
love him.
adorable.
I love him so much. I can't wait for him to be a lead in a drama. I'm gonna watch the heck out of it.
He's so tall, like he's a perfect lead.
Oh, he's so handsome. He's so goofy. I love him. Anyways. So then we go back to the conversation between Tom and Lita, which is again, like I said before, this is just layering on the issue with the shame that I'm not a big fan of, but
Mhm.
Lita has gone back to being like, no, you're still in this. You're not getting out of this. You know it. I know it. This is the only way this is going to go down. But in that moment, it's also revealed, I think, in this moment, this is going to go off on my little tangent about the antithesis. Lita tells him, you can't do anything. And we've been talking about throughout this episode, how sometimes you just need to listen to your inner voice. You just need to listen to your instinct. You just need to stop thinking for a moment. And it is contradictory to like the other messages of the previous episodes, where Gorya is constantly saying like, I would rather do something. And this rubs off on Ren, this rubs off on Tom, who learned that lesson and they repeat it in their own ways.
They're all trying to do something this episode all the time,
Yeah.
right? And they can't, because sometimes you just have to wait.
Sometimes you have to wait. So there's this idea in fairy tales, and this is something I just happened upon this week, which I love. I started reading the book Interpretation of Fairy Tales by Marie-Louise von Franz, which is just like one of those books that's very essential to Jungian archetypes, fairy tales, like what the way of looking at myths as projections of our psyches and fairy tales as projections of our psyches. And there's this thing about like doing nothing and the tales about lazy heroes. And she says that essentially, and I'll summarize this, that she says that like we have like an overwhelming number of stories where the hero excels just through plain laziness. She says he simply sits on the stove and scratches himself, and then everything falls into his lap. These stories also compensate for the collective attitude, which puts too much emphasis on efficiency. Then those lazy hero stories are told and retold with great delight and with a healing meaning in them. So this is basically this tale in a fairy tale format is a reaction to society being too much repeat the idea that you need to constantly act, you need to be so efficient, you need to constantly be doing something.
It's anti-capitalist.
It is. So she goes on to say, such a story compensates the conscious attitude of a society in which patriarchal schemes and oughts and shoulds dominate. It is ruled by rigid principles because of which the irrational, spontaneous adaptation to events is lost. So I'll kind of interpret that a little bit. She's saying that the rigidity of the societies which we live in, which are dominated by this is what you should do, this is what you ought to do in this patriarchal society. She says we've kind of lost this idea of irrationality, spontaneousness, adaptation, like just adapting to whatever situation you're in. You can't do that if you are constantly ruled by rules, by a rule book, and by the rigid patriarchal society. So the lazy hero tale is basically saying that everything is going to work out just the way it's supposed to. And when we tell these tales to each other, we go, oh my God, I can chill out for a second. Like I don't have to be so involved all the time to do this.
I have the right to rest. I have the right to emotionally recharge. I have the right to grow without fighting.
Yeah. I don't have to constantly be fighting to be a hero, right? I can be a hero and like take care of myself for a second and not listen to the thoughts in my head. And I can just chill out for a second. And it's so funny because there's this great shot of Gorya. She gets this text message from Tom who says, you know, me and Lita are going to dinner. Don't worry about it. Everything's gonna be fine. And she
like stops herself from worrying about it.
Yeah, she stops herself. She slaps herself in the face and she's just like, nope, I'm going to keep doing what I need to do now. I'm not going to think about it because Auntie, you told me not to think about it. You know, Tom told me not to think about it. I just gotta wait.
What do you do to stop yourself from overthinking?
Consume media.
Yeah. I find like consuming media or like if like I can't meditate, I can't shut my brain.
Me too.
Off,
I suck at meditating.
But activities that I find help me clear my brain so that I can just like function are dodgeball and climbing. And it's like and sometimes like when you're keeping yourself busy, right? Obviously, like watching somebody else's tail, like in watching F4, because you're like, you know, dissociating from your current state. But what I find about those activities is I'm too worried about death really to worry about life right now. You know, but like that's the kind of thing, like sometimes you just need to be able to take a step back, and also your subconscious is always running and that's the little voice, right? And sometimes you just have to let it happen. And if that's, you can go take a bath and relax and turn off your brain. Really, it's all about turning off your brain. I often joke about me prepping for this show, and I sometimes do better when I have an opportunity to completely be busy with my regular life, being a mom, you know, weekend activities, etc. I do better when I've had a chance to like step away or sleep or, you know, whatever, because I know my brain just needs some time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a healing factor, right?
It is. Yeah. And allowing yourself time to process. And I'm surprised, although we did hear it in this episode, we did hear one last cry. That is sort of what is being said. in the song, right?
Oh yeah, it is. It is.
Giving yourself moments, it's giving yourself space, it's giving yourself time to heal and feel things.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
So
important.
that's to the audience members. As Ty constantly needs to remind me, self-care is important.
Yeah. I don't have to do that so much now. Before
I learned my lesson.
Yes, you have learned quite a lot. So then we go to the dinner, or like whatever meal that they're supposed to have together with the parents. And it's just Tom and Lita and her parents. So it's interesting because that's not how it was in other versions. The other versions, Tom's mom was there. And Tom does show up. I think MCU kind of sort of called this out on Twitter too. The fact that Tom's suit is animal-like. It's got like lines like an animal.
Yeah, he's literally striped like a tiger.
Yeah.
He's wearing his animal skins, although it's like it's hidden, right? Like it's a silky color with like basically like a texture to it. So he is still ready to fight
Yeah.
if required. And to fight for what he wants. He's wearing his armor in some ways. And I was just like, this show.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And they're kind of at like a stalemate when they start this whole thing. And Tom doesn't really know what to say. He is hesitating, and Lita sees that he's hesitating. And in that moment, she kind of makes her decision, which I guess she's been sort of sitting with this for a while.
Well, she was looking before he joined them. She was looking at a picture of like from Gorya's house with Gorya and Glacko and Tom and her. And like I think she realized, like, you know, this isn't her path, but she could still save the friendships that she's made.
Yeah, exactly. Because she was going to hurt
everybody.
Everybody. And, in the process. That's true. Yeah. So she decides to make the decision and speaks up that she's going to call off the engagement. And this whole thing starts in a very like cute way, like a funny way, where she like steps on his foot and says that he's volatile. And then she like jumps on him and it's like, look at the way he acts when I reprimand him. And it's all very silly until it gets very not silly.
Yeah, and we get all of the remembrance of all of the ways that she loves him while she yells at him
that she hates him
and yelling the opposite of what he truly is. And I wrote down that
oh my God,
broke my heart.
This I cried. Like I cried. I cried very, very easily, but there's something about Lita's character that really makes me very emotional. I think it's just because she is so new. Like she's so like she's like a newborn baby to me. I just think she is this spoiled little fetus, and like I just care about her so much. She's like a toddler that doesn't understand, and then she learns so much so fast. And she makes the right choice.
And she also learns that this is not her path and she needs to go on her own journey through this. And like you can't be caught waiting for something that will never happen.
Yeah, exactly. She recites basically all of the, she says he's not nice, he's not warm, he's not committed. I want somebody who is these things, but then it shows in her memory that he is all of these things. So she's lying to herself and she's lying to her parents, and like she has to do this. She knows she has to do this. And this
she's
is
not lying. She's not lying to herself. She's lying to her parents because she does know he is that, but she knows that he is not that for her.
Yeah, sorry. She's actually just being honest to herself. Honestly, like she really is being honest to herself for the first time in this episode. And like this, this is a part of the title, the scripted relationship this is a script. This is not real. This is something she only understands, or that she and him understand in the moment. So I also love that there's a moment where he kind of realizes what she's doing, and he kind of pushes towards her for a second, and she pushes him away.
Yeah, like he realized that he has to be part of this play.
Yeah. And then she's like,
and he's thankful, like his expression, like Bright does an amazing job. Like he realizes, and then he's like, he looks at her thankfully.
yes,
Like, I see you are saving me. I
yes,
see it.
I love that so much, like so much. It makes me so happy. Bright is just doing such an incredible job. It just made me cry so hard. So this, yeah, they officially break it up. But the dad does say at that moment, I think she embraces her dad and then her parent, which I thought was really beautiful. Like that her dad and her mom embraced her, and they were like, no, honey, it's okay. Like we can, because they did allude to the fact that her dad was trying to go into politics in order to help people. Like he's like actually a good person.
And she was looking for somebody to basically control the business for her.
Right.
Which is yeah, it's kind of a plot left open, right? Like,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But that's going into
other people's stories and other journeys.
Yeah, exactly. And
every new beginning is some other beginning's end.
Yeah, that's a myth. Like that's fairy tale. Like there's so many loose ends are an essential part of it, because that's like all fairy tale and all myth is iterative.
It's just another story to walk down some other time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Someone will take the Lita inspiration and write a story about it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So then we go to the flower shop, and Cunning is worried about what's happening with Gorya and the Lita situation. And Gawin walks in and he's like, it's good news. It's going to be a happy ending because she called off the engagement. Like everything's going to be okay now. It's all going to be great.
Happy endings.
Happy ending.
Yeah.
And then
little did he know, Mona walks in wearing the symbolism of a soulmate around her neck. Literally, it looks like a garland.
It does look like a garland. It's creepy. I thought this was so creepy.
I thought it was brilliant because Hanning is holding her symbolic garland, and she looks back and forth between Mona and Gawin, and she's like, wait a second. She's literally in the middle, and there Gawin is talking about triangles, love triangles, all episode long. And he's just like, oh, damn it. And she's like, wait, what? Wait, sorry, excuse me, I gotta go. And unresolved business. And now she has entered this trial, which is the hardest one, because it is around Gawin's heart. This is the curse. This is the thing. And she's like, it's so Deus Ex Machina, like everything's great. And Mona walks in.
Oh man,
you jinxed yourself, Gawin.
It's really weird. She also even has like, Mona even has like this like very clear heart right in the middle that has like flat like red flowers in it.
Yeah,
it's just really
it's perfect. Shush.
It's so
the symbolism in this show just always is top notch.
I don't understand this dress, but I understand it, but I hate it. How about that? I understand it, but I hate it.
So it's a weird dress, but it's weird as much as people were mad at Tom's fur coats, right? Like
exactly.
It's purposeful.
Like, why would she be wearing this dress in Thailand in July?
I want to know where this dress is from and like, what is it?
Me too.
Is it like an actual thing that I can be like, like, no, I do not doubt the stylists because they choose nothing but the best. But like it's so purposeful.
It's so purposeful. It's ridiculous. It bothers me. All right. So I do love and again I have to call out Wynn's acting, his just, his little expressions when Mona shows up.
Do you love his
so
little ring
good.
around his neck?
I mean, I can't figure out. So he was wearing a funny thing. It was like
it looked like a perfume bottle.
It did. That's what I was thinking of, like a little perfume bottle before, and now he's wearing like this ring and other symbol. We can't see it close enough, so we don't really know exactly what it is.
But it's like these chains of love that are like unresolved things.
Yeah,
right?
it's like I'm carrying around these like past relationships. Almost, it's almost as if he was like ready to give that ring to her. Like he's carrying it around, he's ready to kind of project it onto her. But I mean, this is such a shadow for him. So
you haven't resolved. The universe was like, haha, Gowan, you haven't resolved shit.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, I love this show.
It's so good.
I love it.
All right.
And then we get Lita's monologue, which starts out like, and we get kind of like the setup of it. She's really trying to get to the point that like she understands what's missing in herself. And this is like literally what I'm so excited about, which is that like part of the heroine's journey is realizing that something's missing in your life and something isn't right.
Yeah.
And that you feel off. And she realizes that others have a ton of love for Gorya and compassion for Gorya because she puts that out in the universe. And that she wasn't in a place to understand that. And this is where I will say it and reflect what you have said in previously on this episode, which is Lita is a baby.
Yeah, exactly.
She's a baby. She's learning, right? Yeah. And so I will never get mad at a baby.
Exactly.
You can't be mad at a baby. They're a baby. and anyone who is younger than me is a baby. And anyone who hasn't like learned the lessons that they've needed to learn is a baby. This is a very Buddhist thing, actually, that like no one is truly wrong. They're just not very far on their journey yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you can forgive anyone, right? But before, so we started the monologue, but then Gorya is actually putting clothes away or opening up the closet, right? And we see in like a plastic suit container, we see the white shirt that Tom wore when Gorya kicked him.
Yeah, we got the footprint of Meteor right there. He saved it. Like, so cool.
He saved it before he even really knew what it was to him.
Yeah, he did. It was incredible. Like, I don't know if that's going to come back around, but it would be interesting if it did.
And then her phone rings, or she gets the message, she turns on it, and she understands that she needs to love herself more and that she's leaving. And we get this beautiful shot of her as Gorya realizes she has to go and run after her. And the maids are like, yeah, go do your thing. You're actually the queen here.
So I have a lot about this in terms of Lita becoming free.
Yes.
Yeah. So like after the whole monologue and all of that, she
rises up in the escalator all in white.
Yeah, she does. Yeah. And it's so, I don't know, so interesting because in connecting to like Gorya's journey, where she's at, because we talked about this towards the beginning of the episode, that Gorya is at her initiation descent. She's at like looking at the threshold, about to cross the threshold into the deep, 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 deep feminine. And one of the things that like Marine Murdoch talks about is and I think I've kind of summarized this part, but while looking for herself, like in discovering her wants and her desires, the heroine will descend into the water. Typically, like Marine Murdoch uses a lot of water metaphors, whereas like if you read Women Who Run with Wolves, it's a lot more about the pack and about the wilderness.
Yeah, going off into the woods, just like we talked about with Baba Yaga, earlier,
exactly.
right? So it's like it's connecting with some sense of being primal or instinctual.
Yeah, there's a lot of the intuition is more about the pack and about, it's more like the wolves learning to be with each other based on like wolf instinct, animal instinct, whereas like intuition with Marine Murdoch is more about this like inner thing that comes from your childhood and comes from being in the womb and all of that. So lots of water metaphors with Marine Murdoch. And she says that like as the heroine kind of descends into this kind of inner part of her journey, she starts to descend. She's afraid of the things that are in the deep, deep, deep dark of the water, right? Like dark water is scary. But as she does descend, she sees, and this is taken from Marine Murdoch talking to lots of women in her therapy, or in therapy. Like she was a therapist, and she took what women said to her, and she kind of wrote this book around it, about women's dreams. And this particular story that she tells is a combination of a lot of those dreams. And she says that the heroine will descend into the water, and then she comes upon a whale. And the whale is being held down by a bunch of men. At first, the heroine is afraid of the whale. She knows the whale is like a her, and the whale calls out to her to help her, but the heroine does not believe that she can help her. And then the whale is like, no, you can. And just with the heroine being there, being present, the whale is able to free herself from the men that are holding her down. And Murdoch says that in this moment, she summons the strength to free herself just with this other feminine presence being there. And Murdoch says that the whale in this dream is the fish-tailed Aphrodite-Mari, the mother of the sea. Aphrodite, again, we talked about how, Lita is Aphrodite in this story in a way. And then I'm going to quote her here. She says that, like most women, this woman of the depths is only frightened when her energy is shackled, contained, and denied expression. When she can move freely, all the creatures of the earth and sea come to her. We are refreshed and renewed in her presence. Women and men too have to remember how to find her. So Lita is this, she's a part of Gorya. This is a part of Gorya. She's enacting this role to teach Gorya about the deep, dark, feminine part of herself, that if chained and if held back, she can become very, very dark very quickly and very dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Because Lita was willing to hurt everyone to get what she wanted because of her shackles. But as soon as she realized that she was worth more than that, and this obviously had to do with Gorya's presence in her life, because she says that she was basically inspired by Gorya, she's able to free herself from that. And therefore inspiring Gorya, teaching Gorya a lesson in return, because that's a part of her. So
Yeah, and that's why it's so important that they actually meet each other. And the main lead and this character in the main female lead in this character in almost all versions have a call, like have a conversation, but usually it's
Mm,
focused on the male lead. Instead, this was focused on their relationship and resolving that tension between them and making sure that they were both okay to move on their journeys on their own.
yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
good.
It's so good. Uh, so good. So yeah, so then Lita takes off on her own journey after a really great emotional farewell, which again, this solidifies everything I've been saying about the fact that like this is about Goya's heroine's journey, the fact
Mhm.
that she needs these feminine figures in her life, and this camaraderie saying goodbye to Lita is just so important. It's so so important.
Can I talk about the
Um
tackle?
the tackle, yeah, like being the it's a callback.
It's a callback. She is taking back the impact of her in Goya's life.
Aw, that's cute. I like that.
It was a physical apology before she gave an actual apology
Mm,
so that they could sort of put to rest. And this from a heroine's journey perspective is we are now back where we began, but we have grown.
yeah, I like that.
Like their journey is complete. And they didn't have to put a freaking tackle in it,
No, they
right? But they
didn't.
did. And
I
then
love it.
attention, this call is for Star Airlines.
Star Airlines. Like, come on, show. Can you be
Because she's
more
a
textual?
celestial. She's a
Yeah.
star bride. She is going back up to and the guy's just like, listen, like, oh
Yeah.
yes, this is, although Gowan is staring at Lita. Like,
That's kind of weird. I didn't notice that.
but he's
Yeah,
dealing with his own stuff now. And he's reminded of this
that's true.
brokenhearted person.
Yeah.
Like
He never
this,
wanted to get involved with any of this. He does not
he
want to be there.
he avoided it so much.
Yeah. Like he even like it's just it's very weird. Like his all of his reactions here, I have to say, are very strange. I also think it's strange that like when they do the wink thing, that Ren is not in the shot. Like
Oh,
when Lita does she like winks at them and she points at them.
and there's tinkly bell sounds.
Yeah. And then Ren isn't in the shot. I'm like, why wouldn't they include Ren in the shot?
Well, it's because she's winking at them because she knows that Tom is tied up in the car and she's saying, Goya, you have to go and resolve things
I
right
know,
now.
but why is Ren not in the shot?
Because he has unresolved things with Goya and it's
uh
going to get resolved. Like they're telling us in this episode, he has unresolved things with Goya and Tom, and they
mm,
haven't resolved everything, even though he is the most supportive of gentlemen. But it's gonna come back. He's
it's
gonna
interesting.
question Tom.
That's interesting. Yeah. They didn't show him because they don't. Okay, I was thinking because of my ship, like Lita and you know Ren, but
No,
whatever. Fine.
I love you, but no.
Fine. Fine. Anyways, so then we get the shot from the trailer where Gowan
Ah,
carries her and runs and they all run after him and it's so cute.
can we can
Uh
we talk about this? It's not really a lore, but this always happens. The
yeah.
main lead is always kidnapped in all
Oh,
versions.
yeah, I totally forgot about this because I thought it was something else like later in the plot, but you did, yeah. MC was like, no, it's this other part of the plot. I totally forgot about this.
So before the two of them are officially out and dating, after the necklace is given,
Hmm.
the lead, male lead and the female lead um are like fake or pretend dating, or not really.
Yes.
They're hiddenly dating.
They're secret dating. Yeah.
Secret dating. She's like, give me 2 months of secret dating because I'm scared
of what your mom will do.
I'm scared of what your mom will do. I'm not really sure about my own feelings.
Right.
And that was one of her conditions on him. That's not happening in this. There's just not enough time to like have secret dating on top of real dating. But the guys, F4 is like, we got to help our bro out. We gotta put them in a situation by which the mood will take over, the romance will take over, and everything will happen. And so they kidnap the male lead, and they usually bring him to one of their houses. I think in the 2018 version, it's Metsua's house. And they lock him, and he's tied up and gagged. And this has happened in like so many of the versions, right? He's the male lead is gagged in some way in a lot of the versions, because people know they can't control Tom, right? Like, or the character. And then they put them together because it's like sexual, like it's the dark and you could do whatever you want, Gorya, or whatever, right? Like that's the idea. But in this version, it's because they know they have unfinished business and they need to resolve it right away. And if they let Gorya go, he won't get his answer for forever.
Yeah.
So like everybody knows what's going on. They're like, let's just cut to the chase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the visual is very similar to the other versions. Now that I was reminded of it. Yeah. Which is so funny. I love the shot so much where she finally looks over and she's like, oh my God. Like,
and
you're
says,
all
yes,
tied up.
Yes or no? Question mark.
It's so cute.
She laughs. It's like, oh, these guys.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cute. And like somebody pointed out on Twitter about how she kind of like frees him from his bonds, and that's been a big symbol,
sets him free from his pain and his waiting.
Yeah.
And he's wearing green.
Oh my God. So this outfit was also bothering me, but like it's a military jacket that's all like studded and stuff. And it's just, I don't know, it's so interesting to me. It's so like it is like, they have a lot of trials to go through, and they've been through a lot of trials, and they're going to continue to go through trials, and like that's kind of what it means to me.
He's ready to take on the world for her.
Yeah, exactly. He's ready,
and he's wearing her colors.
Yeah, like, and other colors with the other patches colors and all of that.
Like, because he's got F4 with him, right?
Yeah,
like that's
exactly
what that is.
The blue and the red and the yellow and all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we get the, I've earned everything. Lita is out. I'm a better person. I'm not terrible anymore. Atonement done. Checklist. And he says this cutest things. He's like, could you have sympathy for the one who waits? Which is the most adorable way of saying, put me out of my misery.
Yeah, I really like that. There are a couple things he says there that just really touched my heart. Mm-hmm. But she's like, okay, put the necklace on, like put it on me. Mm-hmm. And she thinks she's being clever, which is so funny. He puts it on. He's really serious about it.
He would literally do anything and like not question it.
Yes, he doesn't.
That's the point.
No,
like he doesn't know.
But she says
he might not even know if she was like, kiss me, that he would be like, mwah, and no, like kiss, like he,
that means yes.
Yeah, like he doesn't, like she owns him. Like I don't like how he reacts, like he's very gently putting it on, but he doesn't get that this means yes. Like,
no, he doesn't know. Yeah. But she says that was my answer. He goes, you answered? It's like, no, I asked you to put the necklace on because that means yes.
Yeah. And
she's just takes a moment.
Are you such a dummy? Okay, so I made a meme of this moment because
it's so cute. But I love your meme.
You may be an idiot sandwich, but you're my idiot sandwich.
I love it so much. A Gordon Ramsay meme. I love
Yes.
it so much.
You and I are a couple. And then he's like,
like, I need a moment.
404 error.
I like that they took some time with this moment because this is really cool. Like, this is just really cool because it's so disarming for him, and it's so disarming like for the character as well, because he's like this dangerous monster guy and she's like squishing his face like he's a baby, because she's seen all of his sides now, like you said, with the closet too, right?
She
like
knows him.
She knows him. She's seen all of the sides that he has, all of the skins that he could possibly wear, and she's not afraid of him. But she's also, she doesn't think less of him. Like, she thinks that he's great and she likes him, and this is all unsaid, but she is willing to accept him now because of all of that, because she's like, no, this is a good person for me. It's so good. But there's an amount of time here that's just very nice. They didn't kiss, which I'm mad about, but I get it. I know what they're doing. But yeah, he says, like, you need to leave.
Pulls her away, like,
get out of here before I do something I'm going to be embarrassed about.
What did you think of this when you saw it?
Again, I can't help it. I thought my mind went dirty. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I just, like, being in a back seat with a boy. I mean, come on.
No, literally, that's what they're saying with this. Like, again, these things are subtext, of course. Yeah. Of course it's subtext, but he got too excited emotionally and like
needed her to not be around. Yes.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to step over any boundary that she's still got in place. He wants to, consent is so sexy. So it's also him emotionally like celebrating the fact that like he actually got something he was working for, and he's really, really, really happy. And I love that Ren counts down and then the guys cover their ears. Oh,
it's so good. It's so good. So we do get this in other versions too, by the way. Like, this is like whatever
Dao Ming-si always like screams out and like is just super excited, and
it's
like
so cringy in that version.
But yeah, this one, like, then he starts chasing the guys because like they're playful, because he's now being playful, right? Like, he has so much energy because that's where he's at in his journey.
Yes. So there's always a form of celebration with where she decides that, yes, I will accept that we can like do kind of this boyfriend girlfriend thing. And but then we also get
this monologue.
Tom's mom. Yeah, the monologue. And also, like the monologue is about there's always a new test waiting around the corner, and then it shows Rosalind
being like, wait a second, they broke up.
I love that.
I thought she was moving in.
I love that, like, she found out through the news, like she found out through a headline. It's
and
like
she's
the first time
all in black.
Yeah, she's
like,
all in black.
Very significant.
Again, I find Tom's outfit in this scene very odd. Very, very odd. But I think, you know what, now that I, like, honestly though, we've been talking about this idea of like lazy heroes and just waiting around. In other episodes of this story, Tom should have been in white because he outsmarted his mom, whatever, but he didn't. He actually did not outsmart his mom in this episode. That it's not his doing. This was all Lita. Lita is the one that's
why
white.
She's in white.
Yeah. This was not Tom's puzzle to solve. And this is what, this is why it's so important for heroes to have allies and to have friends and to have relationships, is because, sometimes you can't do everything on your own. Your friends have to help you.
And sometimes defeated villains end up becoming allies. And that's also really, really important because it shows like how you move beyond rivalry and struggle and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So good.
I love how mad Rosalind looks. And then we get this drive home.
Oh, this is such a good scene.
This is good.
Such a good scene. I died.
I knew you would love it.
I literally made a Gawin and Hunning edit this week, and I just lost my stuff for this scene. Like, I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Because this is literally like, it mirrors what happened before, but now he's like a villain, and it's nighttime. And
yeah,
the fact that he like,
and we've had a mention of vampires, and it's obviously like the seduction slash like also like, you know, the idea of a predator in there, right?
Yeah,
like, do you understand what I truly am?
Do you
Are
know?
you really in this? You know, like I am a kitsune. I am the thing that will suck your soul because I am a seductor, you know, a seducer. And are you really serious about me? And he grabs her face. I don't actually think he's gonna kiss her, truthfully.
No, I don't think so either.
I think that was just like and this is why she's left all horny on her bed holding her representation of him in her hands. You know, I mean, literally that's what's going on. She's laying on her bed all like thinking about him in the dirty thoughts.
I mean, yeah, like
there's no other way. There is no other way to read this scene.
No, there's no other way. She's wearing pink and white. I mean,
I was like, oh my God, honey.
I mean, so I left out the part where she kind of like falls back on her bed in the first place because she's like thinking about what happened.
Yeah.
Right. So that happens, which again, we talked about this last episode, how it seems like it's kind of, it's like, it's very,
they're doing a lot of legwork with parallel like physicality. Like, with what you're referring to is when Tom and Gorya like fall back exhausted onto the couch, and it looks like they just climaxed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so that's what starts this whole memory. And I think, well, it starts with Gawin thinking in the parking garage about it. And so but then for Hunning, she's thinking about it after she kind of falls back onto her bed. Whew, oh God. So but then also this parallels the previous episode of when Hunning and Gawin were in the car together in the daylight, where he's like, you want to see like what this car can do? He's like, I'll show you.
Yeah.
Again, all this, we talked about this being very sexual type of metaphor stuff. But this time, when she's in the car with him, she's trying to give him something. She's trying to kind of reveal a part of herself to him. And
she's trying to capture her soulmate too.
Yeah. And
she's trying to throw it on him, and then he'll accept it, and he doesn't.
No, he interrupts her because he knows. And he, instead of accelerating, right?
He urges to a stop and tries to steer her away.
Yep. Look at me. Look how much of a monster I am. Do you really want to be with somebody like me?
It's like catnip for a horny teenager.
It's so good. It's so good. And he plays it so well. He
really does.
Are you really getting serious with me? And then he tells her to stop talking.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord. Oh my goodness.
People have been complaining about not having enough like angsty Tom, and like his like changed neck, and you know, him being all grumpy and stuff. Well, we've got angsty like Gawin, right? So, yeah. We got a lot going on here.
We have a lot going on. I don't need Tom. Like, that character is not typically angsty. He's just kind of a brat.
He's a monster.
Yeah, he's a monster. he's not this kind of angsty. This is very specific type of angsty. This is somebody who has had his heart broken. Tom has not had his heart broken in any previous versions. That is not something that's in the source material. But this character, this guy is hurt. His heart is in like shreds, and therefore he is a certain way because of it.
Yeah, exactly. We should probably talk about some stuff maybe next episode. I'll work on some stuff because there's some really interesting things happening.
Interesting. I'm curious.
Yes.
So I'm skipping the KFC thing this week, even though I have to say I thought it was really cute because I liked the Ren and MJ stuff that was going on, and I thought it was adorable that the girl that MJ liked worked at the KFC and he hid his face from her. I thought it was all cute, but I didn't want to gif it because honestly, watching it makes me hungry, especially when they have like fried chicken in every clip. Like I just couldn't deal with it.
MJ's eaten a lot of fried chicken that week.
Yeah, like I kind of feel bad for him because he probably can't actually eat all of that. So but yeah, so I can't watch it all the time. So I didn't want to subject you guys to that. But the preview for the next episode we can definitely talk about.
We get the dating arc. No, I'm excited for Tom and Gorya. They're dating. This is like a calm period for them before the storm.
Yes.
Like they're worried about their other friends, but they're together.
Yeah, none of this preview is really about them. It's all about Hana and Gavin. So I'm crossing my fingers that people will be happy about getting some calm time for Tom and Gorya. I think, do you think that we're going to get at the end of the episode her leaving?
I think so. I don't.
Me too.
There's no other, like, I'm like, okay, we have 4 episodes left.
Yeah, it's gotta be this next one.
So, Hana and Gawain's episodes and their resolution of everything, they need space and time to do that. And usually that happens when the main female lead is away. It's like something to bring them back to the city and show what's happening in the city.
Right.
Sometimes.
Right. They're shaking a lot up with this one, but I could definitely see her leaving at the end of this next episode.
I don't think that they're going to resolve everything with Mona and with Hana in the next episode. I think it's going to spread out over 2 episodes while Gorya is away, so we get the like Gorya away stuff and
right
in the city stuff, right? Both things happening at the same time, and maybe even 3 or 4 episodes of it, like the rest of the Hana Gavin stuff is spread throughout the next, so it gives it time and space and stuff like that. But I do think they're going to do a lot of it this episode, so we get a sort of pause in the drama while mom is rallying her forces to destroy Gorya once and for all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't happen. But no, I mean, Gorya is forced to leave. We know that.
Yeah, exactly. So she's gonna, it'll be interesting. I don't have a lot of thoughts right now because I honestly need to go and I need to watch the other versions again. I have not gotten there yet.
There is one moment in 2018, Meteor Garden 2018, that I absolutely love about this period of time. So
okay.
Damingsi and Shang-Sai are dating. They're out in the open, and we see Gorya is worried about Hana. In that version, Shang-Sai is worried about her friend, and she literally goes to Damingsi and says, "Go get your friend. He's making my friend unhappy. We're going to go and resolve this." And she literally gets the whole court basically to go and fix this problem.
Nice.
Right. And he like leans on her very sweetly while they're all waiting for that character to show up. And like you kind of get to see her flex and stuff. So I'm kind of hoping for something like that from Gorya.
I don't quite remember that. But yeah, I need to rewatch them, and I'm gonna formulate my thoughts over the week, because it's just, this is such a weird area, because this is like the dark area in terms of plot for all the versions, I think. Like, it's getting into parts where some versions don't have it at all. Some versions are making it up as they go, or some versions are like, not really sure exactly what comes later, so they're kind of stumbling through what they have.
Yeah, or they don't actually resolve in the same way as the manga, because they were completed before the manga was
that's what
done.
I'm saying. Like, some of them, they just don't have enough to go off of. So then, but then also other versions just kind of stumble in this area because of that iterative black hole, like, because previous versions of the adaptation didn't really know what to do. And also, like, the manga, I think there was a part when the manga was being written, and this happens with webtoons as well. Any manga webtoon that's like pressured to go on for longer than it should, this is kind of like the area in which it gets a little weird.
And the author actually did a webtoon about this period of time where the main Daminji and Makino are dating, and she's working at a cafe, and it's like nothing but fluff. Like, it's just sweet moments of them being like sweet together and dating. And it's like this insert time where they get time together just to be, and it's because like very quickly we'll be hurtling towards the finale, and they don't have a lot of time just to be sweet and cute with each other. Like, you almost have to like watch the other versions of them being sweet and cute together. I hope we get at least some moments this episode of them, like, give us some time to rest.
I'm hesitant about whatever now, just going forward, just because of what we've seen. Like, I don't want to like put any hopes on anything, because so much has not happened the way I necessarily wanted it to, but also like I ended up not really caring.
This has been amazing. You know?
Like, it's very weird. It's great. I'm just along for the ride.
You're doing amazing, sweetie.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's great. Like, the storytelling itself is fantastic. And I'm also like, maybe they don't go to Singapore,
Yeah, that's kind of getting questionable now.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with them telling the story they need to tell in the 4 episodes they have left to tell it. Ouch.
Right? It's gonna be interesting.
Whatever they end up doing, what's important still remaining is Hanning and Gowan, right, obviously, and Mom. And she is a giant super goddess level villain, right, who has been created by the patriarchal society she lives in, and her own mutilation of her son's emotions. That takes a toll on you too. By being a villain, you become more of a villain, right?
Of course.
And so, like, that's huge to take down. And I don't know, I love travel and trips, and we're still gonna get one because she leaves, but I don't know how this all plays out, other than I know the story, and the creators, the story is telling us, and the creators are telling us that they understand what needs to be done. I'm just so excited for them to tell us.
Yeah, me too. It's getting to the end. It's so exciting. All right. I have no more thoughts. I have no more emotions left. But
I love this show.
Yeah, I love the show so much, and we'll be talking about it further in the week. And please leave your comments. Let us know what you thought about it. Let us know what we missed, please.
And we've got a OST also coming out later on this week too.
Yeah. So the one that's coming out this upcoming Wednesday is You Mean the World. But also don't forget to go back and check out the In the Wind OST that came out this past Wednesday. We did a lot of really cool deep dives into kind of the Lancelot themes with Ren's character and what the music video is saying in that. And it was very interesting. And of course, we're going to continue to cover the OSTs going forward. So I'm really excited to cover.
We have all of them now.
Yeah, we have all of them. Silhouette was so good. And that's going to be our last one. Like, what the heck? It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. So,
yeah. And of course, always recommend our Who Am I OST. We deep dove into the symbolism and it helped us understand the show so much more. Even though we had been covering it for half a season by the time we recorded that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Who Am I is so essential to this show, and the symbols they use are super important. So
thanks everyone for coming out and listening to us. We love this conversation. We love that the community is starting to get involved and noticing symbols. And honestly, like the symbolism, the metaphor, and the way it's speaking to you psychologically, we just want to enable. We don't own this. We're just giving you our feelings on it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. We're really, really happy and excited to see so many people talk about things with like, a certain lens on it. And it's not necessarily due to us, but I think that in some way there's been like encouragement happening in that area, and I'm really, really happy to see it. It makes me really happy. So thanks everyone. Again, don't forget to like share this video. Any social media platform works. If you want to take snippets of the video and post it on TikTok, Instagram, wherever, like do that. It helps people find the show. Just link it back to us. And yeah, honestly, we'll see you guys next week. Woohoo.
Cheers.
Cheers.